to do the testing of the route.
Yeah.
So I've been on the route. I've ridden every kilometer of this route, and it is an amazing route. I think it's kind of split into two parts.
Well, that's what I was alluding to in that press conference. Is that you've got this 4 big marathon stages,
exactly. So
and then you've got time trial, and then 2 slightly shorter stages.
Yeah. So it's, for me, I see it as classic epic and more modern epic towards the end.
Yeah,
and
lekker, nice balance.
Spice things up. You get the time trial in the middle to kind of really like if you're battling going into the time trial, you're going to lose some big time because although the time trial is only set at 39 kilometers, it is a massive
Apparently,
day.
it is a brutal ride.
Yes, 14,030 meters of climbing within the 39 kilometers, and it's not just that; it's the type of terrain that you guys will be
dealing with
there.
Gerald, I'm just going to speak to you as well.
Okay. Jeepers, this Masters category, I mean, you just look at the names. Hincapie, Van der Velde, Brenchens, De Patolis, I think was a former Italian champion, Decker, Frischnecht. Yes. No, I mean,
it's almost all the, besides Brenchens, it's a retired roadies category at the moment, but
bring them on.
It's fantastic to see these guys actually coming from a really serious road career, coming to having some fun on mountain bikes and riding the untamed African mountain bike race. My thoughts together a little bit.
Yes, very loud and clear. Nice. Can you hear me fine? Christo? So put your neck out. Who's going to win the stage?
I can't see them beating Avancini and Fumic. I think Fumic and Avancini is hungry for the win, and I just get the feeling that they will position themselves correctly coming into the finish. Hopefully and I'm sure these guys are professional, they would have studied the run into the finish, and looking at the stage profile, I think a sprint finish was always on the cards for today.
I think. Hello.
Everything of you is on silent?
I no longer have a phone.
Yeah, but that thing is also, there's nothing coming through.
No. 64 each.
Okay, looking at the current results as it stands at water point 3, we've got Cannondale Factory Racing, Fumic and Avancini together with Pulavi and Grotz. Investec Songa Specialized, and on their tails, only 20 seconds back at the water point 3 check, was Trek Salison Walker to Robin Steiner and Casagrande.
Just dropped out the sky. Thank you.
Yellow jersey, whereas Gizmai and Robach they're about 50 seconds back, so not out of contention at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with less than a minute between the top 5 teams, it's going to set it up tomorrow. If they all keep within that sort of minute and a half. Hello and welcome to our coverage, live streaming to you live from the 2018 Absa Cape Epic. Great to have you with us. If you've just joined us here, we're going to bring you action from stage one of the Absa Cape Epic. Of course, it started with the prologue yesterday. We're in Robertson today for stage one. 4 big stages today over the next 4 days, but it's a wonderful place to be. Christo Tours here from the Absa Cape Epic organization. Christo, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gerald.
This event, I mean, we had a great prologue yesterday, but just generally the route setup for this year is beautifully balanced, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think the route organizers have done a great job with this year's route. It's very special because we start off with almost like a classic epic, and then we move into more of a modern style type of racing where, as you mentioned, 4 big stages up front. So we've got 4 stages over 100 kilometers, 1 big day of 122. And then just off the back of that, we go into a time trial, which is it's the first time in the last couple of years that we've had a time trial, and that should really throw something different into the mix. And I'm sure all the pro teams are kind of figuring out where will they attack, which stages they will target, because you can't go for all of them. You need to be conservative on some. And
then we've got 2 shorter stages, 76 k's each, taking us to Val de Vie in the finish on Sunday. So a whole week of just the most fantastic racing, because we have pretty much the who's who of marathon stage racing and cross-country racing here in both the men's and women's elite race. So it started on Table Mountain, first time since 2015, and a beautiful day. We couldn't have asked for better conditions.
Couldn't have asked for a better day out. I think back to the mountain, it almost feels that's where the epic belongs, that's where it needs to start. Fantastic views over Cape Town, Table Mountain, and a lot of people coming out to watch the riders set off.
Right, short stage it was, the prologue, and they set off from the University of Cape Town. Let's reflect on the prologue from UCT. The Absa Cape Epic is back. In its 15th year, the legendary African mountain bike stage race travels through the Western Cape of South Africa over 8 days of spectacular racing. The 1,200 riders, both pro and amateur, test their mettle against the African wilderness. They'll cover 658 kilometers in what has become mountain biking's Tour de France. Cape Town is a truly unique city, flanked by the Atlantic Ocean and overshadowed by the iconic Table Mountain. This year, the prologue has returned to the foothills of the Flat Top Rock, and at just 20 kilometers, it's a quick one. The time will count in the overall classification, and of course, it's all about who will wear the coveted Zebra Leaders jerseys going into stage 1 tomorrow. The prologue is short and sharp, starting off on the grounds of the oldest university in South Africa, the University of Cape Town. The riders are quickly into the 600 meters of climbing before traversing the slopes of one of the 6 natural wonders of the world and returning to UCT and the crowds at the finish line. The women's race is more competitive than ever, with world and Olympic champions in the mix. 3-time winner and 2016 cross-country world champion Annika Langveld from Denmark took to the start with a new partner in rookie Kate Courtney from the United States. The pair posted the fastest time of the day, 1 minute 12 seconds ahead of their closest rivals. Langveld and Courtney will be sporting the orange leaders jersey for stage 1 tomorrow. The men's race saw the Spanish-Portuguese combo of Francesco Guerra Carretero and Luis Leao Pinto take 3rd place. The rookies threw it all down, completing the course just 7 seconds ahead of the defending champions Nino Schurter and Matthias Sturnemann. Last year's prologue winners were the 2nd fastest of the day. Dynamic duo German and Brazilian champions Manuel Fumic and Enrique Avancini from Team Cannondale Factory Racing were just 18 seconds behind the winners, a small gap with 7 days more racing to go. The winners of the prologue were Team Centurion Vauda, made up of Switzerland's Nicola Rohrbach and Austria's Daniel Gesmeyer. They are a super consistent pairing, placing 3rd in last year's Absa Cape Epic. Rohrbach and Gesmeyer completed the Table Mountain course in just 45 minutes and 23 seconds and will have the privilege of wearing the yellow Zebra Leaders jerseys going into stage 1. They are one of the contending teams to watch over the coming week, as they also have a strong backup team in the race. Buff Scott MTB take their first podium at their first Absa Cape Epic with the effervescent Cannondale Factory Racing in second, and the win by just 18 seconds going to Centurion Voda. So that's how it unfolded in the prologue on Table Mountain. Small, short 20k stage, so the gaps aren't that big. I mean, there were 57 seconds between the first 5 teams there, so it plays a role in getting your legs going and things, but in the greater scheme of things here, those time gaps aren't going to be that relevant until the rest of the week.
No, definitely. I think it is, like they say, you can't win the epic on the prologue, but it's definitely a place to make a statement, show the other riders you are in good form, you're well prepared, and you're ready to take them on. And I think tactically it does play a role going into stage 1.
You know, a lot of people, Centurion Voda, have been talked about as potential winners of this overall race. There's no question Cannondale Factory Racing are there and thereabouts, yellow jersey for 4 days last year, but the Buff Scott MTB team came from nowhere, posted the fastest time. I think they started 21st out of the start hut yesterday, and they sat in the hot seat for a long time.
They did, and I think watching the checkpoints yesterday, when we saw Buff Scott up there, and we were like, okay, they're the first team, obviously well prepared, and they're here to take on the prologue, but they just managed to stay up there, and we expected them to be overall by other teams, but that was not the case.
Yeah, one of those teams was Schurter and Sterneman, the defending champions, the world champion with Matthias Sterneman. I think we're fairly clear that Sterneman was a little bit off the pace of Schurter yesterday on the big climbs.
Yeah, I think we could see that when, especially going up to Dead Man's Tree, we could see Schurter looking back, and Sterneman was visibly struggling behind him. And, you know, he is riding on the tails of the world champion and trying to hold on. So not a comfortable position to be in.
Fifth were Kulhavi and Grotz, a new combination. Grotz, a great climber. Kulhavi, of course, the Czech Express. And up to there, there's less than a minute between the first 5 teams. Interesting that Albin Lecarte and Christian Heineck in 6th place, a minute and 12 seconds down. So they're very much, they look as though they've come here strong and well prepared.
Very much so. I think they rode a very smart race yesterday. I don't think they overextended themselves, and they made sure they stay safe. They don't want to have any mechanical issues or a crash or something on the first prologue stage that will obviously take them out of contention for the rest of the race. And I think they're well poised going into the longer stages.
Now, just one, I think, big loser yesterday, Karl Platt and Urs Huber, 5-time champion Platt and Urs Huber. They won here 3 years ago, beg your pardon, and they are off the pace, very much so. In fact, Steve John and Tim Burma were 13th in the prologue yesterday and are now pretty much their number 1 team, because Platt and Huber were 2.5 minutes down in 17th place. That's a bit of a turnaround, but Platt has come off a broken pelvis, so not totally unexpected.
Yeah, I think Platt, I do think he wasn't 100% sure about his form. Obviously, you would hide that from your competition, but I think in the back of their minds they kind of knew this was the case, and pretty sure they had a good team talk yesterday and made a call to who will be the number 1 team leading into stage 1.
Right, in the women's race, the 2nd place, Annie Last and Mariska Strauss are back. Silverback KMC. Team Ascendus Health, Robin de Groot and Sabine Spitz are back. They were 3rd last year. Esther Susser's partner had to withdraw due to injury. Jenny Stenach, she won the race. They won the race last year for Mirandale CBC. Susser's had a new partner, but top of the tree was Annika Langville and Kate Courtney, Investec Songo Specialized. Such power there.
Yeah, amazing to see absolutely the best women's mountain bikers in the world coming to the Absa Cape Epic. Kate Courtney, last year's under 23 cross country world champion, or World Cup champion, coming here to race with Annika Langvat, and from the start, out of the start hut, you could just see they meant business, and they were setting the fastest times throughout the course.
Yeah, 1 minute and 12. They lead Ariane Luthi and her new partner Gita Michiels from Belgium, a late replacement there for Christina Coleman. Then it's Spitz and de Groot 2:14 down. A second further back, Mariska Strauss and Annie Last of Silverback KMC. And then the first African team, new African women's jersey this year, first time ever. Candice Lill and Amy Beth McDougall wearing that, although Amy was a bit ill yesterday and was not too good this morning at the start. Talking about the start, let's go to the start line here at Robertson. Ahead of today's stage, 110 Ks, 1900 meters of climbing, a really big test as ever on the first day of the Absa Cape Epic. And here are the thoughts of some of the contenders today.
It is exciting. I think it's going to be quite fast. Day one, it's always a nervous one, and I think for the first 20-30 Ks, it's going to be quite aggressive out there. So let's see. We just try to position quite well, more in front if possible, stay out of problems, and tick the box. It's going to be a rough day out there.
For the race, I would say it's the first real comparison for this Absa Cape Epic. It will be like an easy start, but maybe quite hectic because we're a big group still in the race, and we will see. We try to stay as far in front as possible to make no mistakes, not catching up in the single track climb in the first one. But yeah, as I said, it's all about seeing how the other competitors are, how fit they are, how their fitness. But we saw already yesterday at the Prologue that we are not too far off, but it's all about the distance now. Now we have 4 stages over 100 Ks. That's, I think, fitting us much more.
Yeah, I think the climbing is also pretty much like we start climbing about 23 Ks, a little climb, and then the main climb is only after the second water points at about 42 Ks. So yeah, pretty much just try and stay in the front as long as possible. That saves you energy, and then you hit the climbs, just ride the climbs at your own pace, and obviously just to try and get to the finish alive.
I mean, the long stage, definitely suits more of the marathon riders, but I don't know. It's not maybe the ideal stage for me, but it should be fun just to give it a go. Yeah.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Ladies and gentlemen, that's A-backs. Give them a big cheer.
Factors that's changed the race, the speed with which this elite group leave the stage. And there's no question that they're feeling the heat of the marathon races. There were a lot of them on rollers this morning preparing for the hot start. And look at Avancini and Fumi getting out there early and trying to set the pace. We saw it last year, and the marathon men not quite used to this really, really aggressive start to the stages. It takes them a little bit longer to warm up, and Fumic and Avancini were saying they're going to go hard because they need to burn off as many of the contenders as they can.
Yeah, I think a big change that's happened in the last couple of years with the style of racing within the Epic is that the starts have become fast and furious. No longer people are generally just cruising
Rolling
out
off,
and kind of warming up. You will see the guys on rollers before the start of the days to make sure once the gun goes they're ready and it's full power.
There's the yellow jerseys, Heineck, at least beg your pardon, Robach and Gismar. Robach is a very, very versatile racer. He's a cross-country racer. He's ridden cyclocross, and he's very good on the marathon stages and the marathon races as well. So he last week at the Epic World Cup, he moved from 53rd to 25th. That's how good he is on the cross-country. So he's got the full set there, and he's a really dangerous contender here.
Yeah, definitely. Robach also, he spends quite a lot of time in South Africa. You see him on at local races, pitching up at local cross-country races, and is very familiar with the South African conditions.
Big bunch, isn't it, in the dust and dry, very, very dry. Quite a coolish start, overcast as they tore through the vineyards here of Arabella and just outside Robertson. Beautiful, beautiful stage for them, and a great start to the morning.
Yeah, amazing conditions for the riders. Hardly any wind to speak of this morning, and nice cool temperatures.
All together there. Plenty of climbs, 2 major climbs to deal with today, and some pretty technical riding as well. This Robertson stage over the years has provided great drama and some big excitement as well. We remember some 4 or 5 years back, Marcus Kaufmann and Jochen Kess breaking a frame when they were in the yellow jerseys for Centurion Vara. And things went pear-shaped for them there. Unfortunately, Jochen Kess back again this year, broke a leg a couple of days before the event and is out of the race. So it was the start of the men's elite group this morning, going off this morning at 7 o'clock in nice cool conditions, but it was going to get hotter and hotter as the day progressed. So what are the women? Well, the contenders, of course, course, Investec Songo Specialized. Annika Langveld has not lost an Absa Cape Epic. She's been here 3 times. She's won it 3 times. And she seems to have picked a good one in Kate Courtney, the under-23 World Cup champion.
Yeah, definitely. I think Kate Courtney is also reading some of her, like on social media, and some of, she's got this blog, and she was saying that she has prepared for the longer days that she'll be faced with. Obviously, specializing more in cross country, it's a bit of a change, but I'm sure all these riders, they are doing a lot of endurance at this time of in their preparation for the season, so she will know she won't be out of their depth.
Absolutely. A lot of different combinations in this women's field. So I think today's stage will be a lot about just seeing who's on the pace, who's in the game and who's not in the game. Gitte Michiels is a cross-country champion from Belgium. Angelica Tazrita has joined Esther Soos. Michiels is with Luthi, of course. Sabine Spitz, Robin de Groot are a tried and tested combination, 3rd last year. And Mariska Strauss and Annie Last, young national champions from South Africa and Britain, full of life and verve, and they cannot be discounted.
Yeah, I think if there's a team spirit award, it has to go to Lars and Mariska Strauss. Always very happy to be here, and you can just see they do enjoy actually being a professional mountain bikers. In terms of tested combinations, you will, I think, comfortably you can say the Groot and Spitz and Last and Strauss will be the 2 combinations that they've been here, they've done it together, and then you've got the new combinations of Langveld and Kate Courtney. Not sure exactly how many races they've done together, but it is different to all of a sudden be faced with a big, long marathon stages and trying to judge the condition of your partner. Is she struggling? Will she be able to hold on?
Yeah, that whole communication between partners is something that they will obviously settle into. Yesterday was quite tricky, a short stage. Today is very much about just seeing how things go over the long distance. Gitte Michiels has never done a stage race before, so it's a big opportunity for her to put her name in lights alongside Ariane Luthi. So let's find out what some of those women said ahead of today's stage.
Yeah. So, number plate for the editors. So, Annika, just what does it feel like this year at the Epic? Stage 1, day 1, it's always exciting.
It's a funny feeling because it feels exactly the same but very different at the same time. It's hard to explain. This year, yeah, of course, a new partnership, but then again, I kind of feel like I'm going into the same kind of rhythm. So I think we're doing pretty good at the moment, and yeah, let's see what the days will bring. Ja, det føles rigtig godt at være tilbage. Det er en sjov følelse, for det føles både sådan meget som det samme, og så på samme tid også fuldstændig anderledes, fordi jeg har en ny partner i år. Men jeg tror, vi kommer til at gøre det rigtig godt, og ja, lad os se, hvad den næste dag vil bringe.
And I mean, the Epic's always quite a special start to the or part of the season. How does, I mean, as far as how it fits in with you this year, does it feel any different? The fact that we've already had a World Cup.
It doesn't feel different that the Epic is that early in the year. I've done it so many times now and kind of know what it takes to be in shape at this time of year. So it's not really different for me now.
And as far as how you're playing it this year, what are your aspirations this year, and how you're gonna perform?
Of course, I mean, when you're here, you want to do well, and Kate and I, we're here and we want to do well.
Okay, and as far as the field this year, you've seen everybody else a little bit. It's getting stronger and stronger every year. But from where you're sat, what do you think of the field?
Yeah, I think it's a really strong field. You have to be super sharp. You have to get through without major issues. So yeah, fingers crossed.
And today's stage, you've had a look at it. You know the profile. You know the area a little bit. And what can we expect from today's stage?
Yeah, it's a rough area out there and a lot of thorns, so you have to be really careful with your riding.
And is your bike setup any different because of the conditions?
No, my bike is pretty much standard. I have a standard Epic setup here.
Perfect, that's all we need.
That's Annika Langveld talking ahead of today's stage. Kate Courtney is her partner, and the way Annika was powering yesterday, we actually saw her do a handsling with Kate going up at one stage. She's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I think Annika Langveld is in incredible form at the moment. We saw that at the Epic World Cup the previous weekend in Stellenbosch, and she was just obliterated the field at that race. And we could see and the experience coming in, knowing you're only as strong as your partner, and she definitely understands that and used that to her advantage.
Right. Today's stage, 110 kilometers, 1900 meters of climbing out and back from Arabella here, and this is what they're in for here, Christo. The Land Rover technical terrain is a tricky, loose, unprepared piece of terrain, but what else have they got to deal with there? Some big climbs there.
Yeah, so they up until McGregor is quite fast, and there's a bit of single track to deal with. Then they head up to the Land Rover technical terrain, the skid and bones descent. Very loose and quite it's like a dual track, and the guys need to make sure they're in the right position. Then they tackle the big challenge of the day, a 14-kilometer climb of scale crons. The descent off scale crons, and we'll see that's probably where the action would happen within specifically the men's race, where the field will split up on scale crons. Coming down scale crons, not a very technical descent, but definitely a descent where you need to keep your wits about you. You can't make a mistake. There's some hairpin bends to deal with. And then it's the run into the finish. Pretty much after water point 4, there's a big kick up, very steep, and should 2 teams or 3 teams be together, that might be a place for them to attack, and then a fast run into the finish.
So essentially, it looks like the business of this race, this stage, is going to be, say, between around 50 kilometers after the Land Rover technical terrain, up the scale crons climb, possibly the descent, and then in that last 15, 18 Ks, that really steep climb there. So perhaps an early attack, and then if you want to really have a go later on that climb.
Yeah, I think the early strugglers will definitely be dropped off in the first 20 Ks of the stage, and then going through McGregor up to the skid and bones descent. Very steep climb there, and you will if you find yourself in the wrong position there, because it's single file, you might get distance, and it will be hard to get back onto the group. I do foresee more than one team sticking together at the front. I don't think it's a stage where a single team would be able to just ride away from the others, just because it's quite open and district roads, and there's definitely drafting in play, and teams will need to work together to try and get an advantage over the rest of the riders.
Right, it's going to be a tough attritional day, but it is the first of 4 big days, so there's going to be a lot of just feeling your way, and we're talking a lot about the elite riders, of course, and that's what we're going to be showing you, the racing and who's going to win the stage. But remember, there were riders leaving this start nearly an hour and a quarter after those elite riders left, because the batches stretched right the way back to I-batch. So a lot of amateurs taking on this challenge, and it is a serious challenge. The 15th Absa Cape Epic. Riders have spent 6 months preparing for this event, some of them longer, 12 to 15 to 18 hours a week in putting in the hours, and they want to finish this event. So today is very much feel your way in. That was the sort of just you were getting from the amateurs there. I'm just going to take it really easy today. Just want to get the legs rolling. So that's what it's about today. But as I said, we're going to show you the sharp end here. Let's have a look at the racing. This is from earlier today. So this is images from the air from earlier today. And in the beautiful early morning sunlight, it really was a spectacular sunrise. The bunch, as Christo was alluding to, would stay together perhaps for quite a while through towards McGregor. Undulating farm roads and the like. Yes,
there's 1 or 2 kicks, but nothing so serious that it will split up the contenders, and you will see quite a big bunch staying together until they head down to McGregor.
A lot of bunches there as well, bunches of wonderful grapes as the harvest. I think a lot of these farmers are just about mid-harvest, so thanks to them for allowing us to be part of it. This is the women's group there, and you can see CBC Mirandal as the defending champion on the right, Esther Soos, and her partner Angelica Tazreta. And the women's batch left 10 minutes after the men's elite batch. They have their own batch, so they can race, and we saw it last year, race their own race. Sabine Spitz on the front there, Candice Lill and Amy Beth McDougall in the Absa African jerseys. Ariane Luthi there in the Belgian colours. That's Gita Michiels, a first look at her today. So she will be tested today as they cruise past the Van Leeuwen wine. As I said, it's a busy time of year for these wine farmers.
Indeed,
right through the winery.
A lot of these farmers would have just finishing up their harvest at this point, and welcoming the riders onto their farms. And fantastic that these landowners, we can work together with them and access their land and use the trails in the area.
The Breda River snakes through this valley here in between Robertson, Worcester, Ashton down the road, but we are pretty much just outside Robertson on the Arabella wine farm. Once again, we've been here before, and it rained in that time of the race here, so in many ways we're hoping for a bit of rain here, because boy, we need it in the Western Cape.
I think everyone in the Western Cape is aware, and everyone around the world is aware of the situation within the Western Cape, and as you can see, and you can also see on the pictures, that it is very dry, it is dusty. We had a bit of rain last week, not much, but enough to just settle down the dust a little bit, but I think once the field gets through there, it will be all gone.
Right, now let's say this is live images, I am led to believe, and this is Cannondale Factory Racing and Investex Songo Specialized powering through at the front. So this is the break and the front of the race there. It is Avancini on the front, Fumik behind him, and then Grotz and Coolharvey in tow.
Yeah, I don't think any surprise here for us. I think we could see both teams did very well yesterday. They looked very strong and managing to get a gap around on the rest of the field. Missing from this group at this point is our overall leaders after yesterday's stage, and that of course is Centurion Vade.
Well, they've just gone past Waterpoint 4, which is around 89 k's, so they are 90 plus, so inside the last 20 kilometers here. Avancini and Fumich, they've been here in South Africa for quite a while. They returned home briefly before the World Cup, came back for that, and are showing some great form. They were so excited this morning on the start line. They were so excited finishing second yesterday. They weren't too worried that they weren't in the leaders' jerseys. There's so much of racing to be done. They wore the yellow jersey yesterday for last year, beg your pardon, for 4 days before Nino Schurter and Matthias Sturnemann took it after they had a puncture. And therein lies the big story around these 4 riders.
Yeah, so these 4 riders, neither of these teams do have a backup team to help them. So if anything does go wrong at this stage, they might find themselves losing a lot of time. Should it come down to a bunch sprint, of course, Avancini and Fumik would take the lead.
Yeah, that's a crucial factor. No backup team. Now, Canyon Topek at least have a backup team. Licata and Heineck have Jeremiah Bishop and Eric Kleinans. The Bulls have backup teams to spare. They've got 3 teams here, though unfortunately they're not really in contention this year. Centurion Vauda have a backup team as well, Salzman and Kaufman, so they are in good shape there. But yeah, you don't want to get in trouble. And there's no question that Investex Songo Specialized success in the past has a lot been based on the support of their backup teams over the years. They have had issues with punctures and so on, and very often we've seen Eric Kleinans and Nico Bell and the like helping them out, and it's been key for them.
And I think also crucial for that pairing, the current pairing of Coolharvey and Grotz, is that before Coolharvey and Sauser, that pairing, Sauser was also always the cool head, managing to deal with the mechanical situations. He's obviously has got vast experience, and Coolharvey at this point will be the senior in the team, and he would need to manage that should anything happen. Avancini and Fumik, they've been in this position again last year. We saw what happened to them, but they were managing to keep their lead up until the midway through the race on stage 5, if I'm correct.
So look at Avancini go up there, the not current Brazilian champion. In fact, he finished second in the Brazilian cross-country championships, so a former Brazilian champion. And Fumik, well, are never present in the German champions jersey for quite a few years. And then it's the big frame of Jaroslav Coolharvey. Howard Grotz is renowned as a very, very good climber. So he won Leadville this last Leadville 100, so he's a highly competent and obviously the national cross-country champion of the United States. And indeed, Coolharvey's the Czech national champion. So we've got 3 national champions in our leading 4 riders here.
I must say, all 4 riders look very comfortable there. Avancini setting the pace up front, but you do get the sense he wasn't trying to drop the other riders or Investex Songo Specialized there. And they are in the beautiful Elandskloof Nature Reserve area at the moment.
He is truly beautiful, Elandskloof. He did have a little look over his shoulder there as they crested that little climb, just to see if he'd done any damage. no problems. Harvey is there, Grotz on his wheel.
I think trying to see any sign of weakness at this point, and tactics would definitely be in their mind now, and how will they play this one out? Do they go to the finish together and back themselves to take the sprint, or do they risk it and try and attack? If I was in Cannondale's position, Cannondale Factory Racing, I think they are in the overall for the yellow jersey, they are ahead, and I think they would want this to stay together and make sure that they keep themselves safe and wear the jersey into tomorrow's stage.
Where is the yellow jersey? Well, the last reports we had around about that fourth water point were that the Centurion Vader team around 4 minutes back, the yellow jerseys of Robach and Gesma, swinging between that chase group, which is Centurion Vader and a few other contenders, was the Trek Marco 2 PEV, Casa Grande Ravensteiner, and then the number 2 team behind the Trek Marco, Damiano Ferrara and Samuele Porro, but they're having a good day out there. But they were just between the two groups in third place.
Yeah, they were looking very good this morning. They were sticking with the leaders all the way up until when they passed water point 3. And I think that team coming into the race, yes, they have a number 1 and a number 2 team, but I think kind of deciding the hierarchy of the team once they're here and who's actually firing.
Well, before the race, talking of that, I mean, Carl Platt is a 5-time winner. Was asked, he had 2 backup teams. He said, well, what about the one team, Steve John and Burma, who finished 3rd overall a couple of years ago? He said, well, they can do anything. They can do what they want. And we said, well, anything? And it's come to bear that, in fact, they are now leading. And we believe on the road today, they are ahead of Platt and Huber. So it may be that there's a change of guard there and that Burma and Steve John are going to be their go-to team for the GC later on. But look how tightly Fumich is sitting on Avancini's wheel, looking very comfortable.
Yeah, I think interesting there is that Specialized is not sharing the workload, and here we see Trek Marco 2 trying to claw their way back to the leaders, and actually I think at this point they're just trying to limit their losses.
This is Casa Grande and his partner Fabian Ravensteiner, who's won Brazil Ride. He finished 2nd at Brazil Ride, one of the toughest stage races around, so there's plenty of pedigree there, and he's back for his 3rd Absa Cape Epic. Been in the top 10 before, and they're obviously having a really good day, and maybe they're just keeping their team in the mix here. Perhaps later in the week Samuele Porro and Damiano Ferrara will come good, find their legs. That's the essence of this event, is that it's so long, 8 days of very hard riding, that riders go in and out of dips of form and finding their legs. So perhaps it'll happen later. Wow.
Yeah, here we can see the back and the gap to the front, between the front group and the chasers. Here we can see Sorrow and Victor Koreski.
And that may be I wonder if Buff Scott might be in there. And then the big bunch coming up this climb here. There's Lecatra and Heineck are in there from Canyon Topic as well.
Yeah, and we can see another Buff Scott rider there. Looking back, we can see Sterneman by the looks of it. Or is that... No, that's actually Scott.
Yeah, it's Fishnick
and Van den Hayden.
And Van den Hayden in there. And the yellow jerseys are in there. Centurion Vader. So the Scotsram Young Guns there. Do we see the world champion in there? The world champion Nino Schurter, Sterneman's partner. That in the Dutch champions colours says Michel van der Heijden. They're digging in, going up the climb just ahead of the yellow jerseys.
I think our defending champions are missing from this group unless we are missing them, and I cannot spot them at the moment.
I did see the one Buff Scott. There are 2 Buff Scott riders in there. That's definitely, they're in there. There's no question about them. And it might be that other group in there, the other rider in there is Caetano and his partner. Also finished in the top 10 in the prologue yesterday. And that is Johnny Caetano and Luis Maya from Colombia, Willia Force 7C1.
So the pictures, it doesn't do the climb justice and just how steep and how tough it actually is, but you can see in the labouring pedaling style of some of these riders, they actually, this is quite a challenge.
Gismar gets over just ahead of Robach in the yellow jerseys there. Between them is Van der Hayden, and there'll be a bit of a scramble just getting back all together here. But yeah, it's short but it's tough and loose terrain, and that is going to be one of the hallmarks of this year's race because of the drought. Such a loose terrain. There's been no rain to bind it together. It's been a really, really rough last 2 years, in fact, in the Western Cape. So it's going to be hard going for these riders.
Yeah, definitely. I think I also think riders did prepare for that, and I think they might have made some changes to their equipment to make sure that they, maybe using tires that are very puncture resistant, and these guys will just try and close up here. I'm sure this will come together, and hopefully they will then work together to try and chase down the guys at the front.
News from the course is that Carl Platt-Nussub are 5 minutes off the pace, and that the Bulls 2 pair, Simon Stevjan and his partner Tim Burma, had to replace a back wheel, so they've had drama already, which is disappointing. That's Nicola Robach there, the big strong Austrian. On board now. This is brilliant view from Stefan Sam.
And look who's on the front.
Yeah, this is the front group. Avancini, they are giving the Investec song. Look at Kulhavi looking over his shoulder. Where's Howard Grotz? He's there.
Howard Grotz taking a sip of water. These riders need to make sure that with a long stage like this and the hot weather conditions, that they keep their nutrition levels up, and they make sure they are well prepared for the rest of the last bit of the stage.
Live view images. They're fantastic to be on board with Stefan Sam, former 3-time winner, Team Bulls. And now there's a little bit of a fracture happening here in this chase group.
Going up to the front.
Yeah. And that Jordan Sarou is there with Victor Koretsky, the French pair, in their very first Absa Cape Epic. The French national team were in the Western Cape, the whole team, and 2 of them coming to race the Absa Cape Epic. The rest were here for cross country, of course, the World Cup, and preparation for the rest of the season.
Yeah, fantastic to see that team out here taking on the challenge of the Cape Epic, and those riders, of course, cross country specialists, are now trying their hand at marathon racing.
Yeah, and I think we'll just see more and more of these cross-country specialists come back to the Absa Cape Epic in the years to come, because as we sing Schurter and Sturnemann winning it last year, Schurter had a great year after that, and he finished second here last year in the women's race, went on to win her first World Cup and finished second of the World Championships. So that old myth of riding the Absa Cape Epic and then that compromises the rest of the year is being debunked now. It looks as though it's helping.
Yeah, I think these teams, they are all very professional teams, and they make sure that they prepare. So in this time of the season, they might do more endurance type of riding, and then go into more of a build phase towards the second World Cup of the season. So some of the riders, maybe like Schurter, might have come into the first World Cup slightly undercooked and more geared towards the longer format, but then going into the second one, they will use this as a stepping stone into those.
Lots of undulations here as Stefan Sam sits behind Enrique Avancini in the lead group of this race, and now they'll charge down the other end of this little climb. Unbelievable skill and speed these riders go down here.
Yeah, amazing to see these pictures coming live from the route, and actually on board pictures, and you just get the feel from what these riders are actually going through and the pace that they are ripping through the trails here.
Yeah, from the air we've got our helicopter coverage as well. Enrique Avancini, and back with the bike and Stefan Sam. So it's great for him. I mean, he's a former winner here. He's loving being involved, but not involved, so to speak. He's not allowed to get in front of the riders at all, but great opportunity for him.
Yeah, I think if you see him around the race village after and before he goes out, you can't take the smile off his face, and he's really enjoying riding that e-bike and still being part. He is a racer after all, and still feeling that professional. Being a professional racer and being in the action, but actually just not having to pedal, I suppose.
Well, there's Cool Harvey on the front there, doing what he does best, drilling it hard on the front here, trying to put the pressure on it. Fumik is looking very comfortable. Grotz behind Fumik, and then it's Avancini from the air. Beautiful images of the riders. Beautiful, this Elandskloof Nature Reserve.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful area to ride in, and it's quite open. It feels like it feels untamed, if I can use that.
As it should, yeah.
And as it should, and it feels like you're riding in the untamed African landscape, and they are amazing riding.
And amazing images live on the Absa Cape Epic. This is just phenomenal stuff. Now on the bike with Stefan Sam. And look at the helicopters, one on the right, one on the left, the riders in front, and we're on board with them, going at a cracking pace. Avancini, Grotz a position we're going to become very familiar with. It's almost Barry Stunderish, sitting very far forward on his saddle, and he was obviously small in stature, so a rather different position and set up to that of his partner, and indeed even Manuel Fumik, who sits a little deeper.
Yeah, Fumik always looks very relaxed on the bike, almost making it look easy in his style of riding. But also interestingly, this year they've dropped. Usually you see those riders riding in baggy pants. So this year we see them riding in actual lycra. So maybe they mean business.
Well, they mean business, but I think Manny Fumich was asked yesterday about that. He said, "Oh, the warehouse is empty. We've sold all the baggy pants, so now we need to sell some bib shorts." So they're wearing bib shorts this year. But wonderful character, great for the sport. A wonderful man. Now listen, we can hear the image, we can hear the noise from the bike. Let's see if we can listen in to Stefan Sam. Stefan, what's going on there? The race from the sharp end there. He's the fifth man in that group there on the e-bike, and they are closing in on home here, so we reckon probably inside the last 10 year, Christo? Not quite.
Not quite. They've got they're going to go through a water crossing, and from there it's around 8 k's to the finish.
Oh, wonderful break here. It could well have been at Scalekrans, the big climb of the day, that this group separated itself from the main group. And these are the protagonists, the yellow jerseys, off the pace, and with the narrow time gaps yesterday, there's no question that if it stays like this, there'll be new wearers of the yellow jersey. However, who's it going to be?
Yeah, I think if it stays together, then it would be Canada Factory Racing. But the competitive nature of the race at the moment and the last couple of years, the time gaps have not been very significant. And although these two teams have managed to get a gap, I don't think the race is still very much on. And the other teams will conserve now, and they know they're going to lose some time, but working together, they're going to limit their losses coming into the finish.
Yeah, if Investec Songo Specialized want the yellow jersey for tomorrow, they'll have to finish around 39 seconds. Just more than 39 seconds ahead of Canada Factory Racing. You feel that going into this on this first day, they're unlikely to spend too many pennies trying to do that. There's so much time left, and it's only a 39-second gap at the moment, so I don't think they'll be too worried about doing that. But it was very tight, 57 seconds after the prologue between the top 5 teams, and that 5th team was Kulhavi and Grotz after the prologue, the 20k whirl around Table Mountain. Very different on the menu today, this 110 kilometer stage, and just phenomenal. These guys started at 7 o'clock this morning, 3 hours and 44 minutes they are closing in on, and they are going at it hammer and tongs.
Yeah, these guys are going they're going full speed here. I think just trying to work together, but also not overextending themselves.
That, I think, is one of the
Kulhavi.
Yes, this is Kulhavi. Now we're at our camera right next to the
there, and you can see the Czech
bike.
Express on the front. And this is his type of terrain, these long drags up and downs, but it's not very steep, but it's just that he will be pushing quite a big gear here and leading the guys into the finish.
Now we must apologize, but we do have to come back to studio occasionally. It does break up. I know it's not what you want to see. You want to see the racing there, but I think you'll agree we're seeing some incredible images from out on the route live as it's happening there, from the bike, the e-bike, from the bike trailing the riders, from the helicopter on top, and occasionally out in the country there the signal does break down occasionally, but it really is fantastic to be right in the thick of thing there, in the thick of the racing there at the sharp end. As we know, the gap to the second team, Trek Sele San Marco, is about 2 minutes. Trek Sele San Marco 2, Ravensteimer and Casagrande. And speaking of which,
yeah,
this is them.
This is them indeed, and can't tell which one of the two are on the back here. I suspect it would be Casagrande.
Let's just, now we can pop up to our helicopter. Neil Gardner is up in the helicopter watching the race here. Let's hear from Neil if we can.
We're here right now with the... I'm talking, can you hear me? We're here right now with the Trek team. This is a Ravensteiner team, and they're stuck in no man's land between a chase group, which is about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes behind them, and up front, way in front in fact, 3 minutes 30 in front is Team Investec Songo Specialized and the Cannondale Factory Racing team. It all seemed to take place roundabout near the Land Rover technical terrain. On the climb there was a bit of a gap. Manuel Fumic and Enrique Avancini put the hammer down and seemed to split it all up, and then just when everything regrouped, it was time to climb up Scalekrans, and by that stage there was a distinct group with the Trekkies, Trek Sala San Marco, and also we had Investec Songo Specialized pushing the pace with Howard Grotz, and of course the Cannondale Factory Racing. Trek Sala San Marco fell off, and
great images there as the camera lifted up to see the gap to the leaders and the dust up there. So he says 3 minutes there, Neil, so it's quite a big gap to Trek Sala San Marco.
It's quite a big gap, and interesting what Neil alluded to there is Trek Sala San Marco finding themselves in the middle between the leaders of the stage and then the chasing pack. So they need to do all the work on their own where the other riders are working together, so they might find themselves actually losing a bit of time on the front, on the leaders of the stage.
Grotz sitting on the wheel of Avancini, and up ahead it's Cole Harvey, who has his pilot fish in the shape of Fumic. All these riders looking very, very comfortable indeed. There we go.
Yeah, I think they all know this is going to come down to a sprint finish, and the terrain from here on in is pretty much open roads, and no big challenges coming up before they would hit the fields of Arabella.
You might have seen the shot there from Stefan Sam on our e-bike live. You bring those images, and then in front of him was the motorbike, and this is the image from our cameraman Pierre there, bent over double, contorting himself to get this image. There he is in the blue jacket. Fantastic work by our crew out there. Brilliant teamwork, and great to see. It's Avancini and Fumic going very comfortably at the moment, aren't they? And look at this Czech Express on the front. He's the man to fear here. He's got so much power. But you just look at Fumic's cadence there. He's in no trouble at all.
Yeah, Fumic hiding from the wind, and you can see just in that picture, you can clearly see that the second rider is definitely benefiting from sitting close to the wheel of the rider in front of him.
Yellow jersey team. This is Robach and Gesmaier, Saru and Koretsky. It looks like the Canyon Topic pair as well there.
It's clearly visible here from the style that these guys are riding with, and comparing that to the guys at the front. The guys at the front really hammering it, where here you get a sense that they're a bit more comfortable, and actually I think they know they're not going to be able to win this stage.
Yeah, the Buff Scotsmen are in there, no question. They had a great day out there yesterday. Carretero and Pinto, the Spanish-Portuguese combination, finished third. A bigger surprise for everyone. There's in the orange the pair of Saru and Koretsky, and a look over his shoulder from Rohbach looking for Daniel Gesmaier.
I think it's actually Gesmaier looking back for Rohbach. And that just shows again that because it's a team race, you're only as strong as your partner, and maybe Rohbach not having the best day there, and he's looking back and he's actually backing off, because and getting Koretsky to do the work.
So Buff's got in there, the young guns are in there, Topik are in there, Canyon Topik are in there, and it could be that it was Cayetano and Amaya, but we'll confirm that. No sign of Scott SRAM defending champions Schurter and Sterneman.
Yes, Schurter and Sterneman definitely not having a great day out there, very much absent from this group, and I think they will be looking at quite big time losses today.
There's Robach. Yeah, he's really battling a bit today because Gesmaier's dropped back and he's having to yo-yo back onto his wheel, and Gesmaier's out of the saddle and saying, come on, let's go, and Robach's having to dig deep again.
Yeah, Robach is visibly hurting here, and you can see he's just scrambling to get onto the back wheel of his partner Gesmaier. Gesmaier, of course, won the Swiss Epic last year. In that case, he was riding with Kes, and coming to South Africa and not phased by the conditions that are vastly different.
Very different to the Swiss Epic, the first Grindal Swiss Epic, very much part of the Epic series now, together with the Pioneer in New Zealand, and we've got riders from both those events taking part here as well. Big group from New Zealand.
Yeah, so a lot of New Zealand riders coming out to South Africa to take on the African mountain bike race this year. So it's fantastic to see the international riders coming to race.
Yes, qualifying to race here because of their performance at the Pioneer. Now here's our lead group,
and you can see Kulawi on the front here and just powering along.
Yeah,
trying to get the other riders to come through, Avicini to come through to do some of the work, but they know they've got it at this stage.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the finish here at Arabella, the white, this clay-like surface here. Now, this group just can't make out the number at the back there.
27.
We'll pick them up shortly. This is Martin Fanger and Simon Vitsum, the Price and Bishi Bikes combination. Now, I'm not sure, they may be swinging off the back of that chase group.
Yeah, we haven't seen this team up the front when we were looking at the other pictures, but they might be just off the front group.
They were 2.5 minutes down after the prologue yesterday, finishing down in 14th place. Yeah, look at the gaps now on this long undulating road. A little bit of corrugation as well. These guys are dealing with it very well. That looks like Kleinans and Bishop, possibly.
I think
No,
Trexelis and Marco.
Yeah, Poro and Ferrara, the designated number 1 team coming into the race. And they're certainly languishing a little further back than they anticipated on this stage.
Yeah, I think so. I think they, if it is indeed them, I think they would have liked to be up at the front with the second team working together. But at least for that team combination, they do have a team that's really firing.
Well, fantastic images now as they come through the farmlands here, and you can see the farm workers there just pausing in their work on these farms to welcome these riders past them. This is the lead group. It's harvest time here in the Breeda Valley, and this is the lead group. Investec Songo Specialized, Cannondale Factory Racing, and they cannot be far from home now.
No, these riders are fast approaching the finish now, and we will see them turning into the Arabella Wine Estate soon.
And it's going to come down to that sprint finish. A look over his shoulder from Jaroslav Kulhavi. I don't think he'll see too much. Because
I don't think there's any need to look back at this point, but sure, just to make, obviously, all the professional making sure that they know what's coming.
And there is the image from Stefan Sam, just giving the lens a little clean. And off he goes. So we've got cameras all over the place, in the air, on the bikes, on the motorbikes, just bringing you all the action. As I said, sometimes the signal just breaks up every now and again. There's a black hole in connectivity, and then we have to, unfortunately, come back to studio. But as soon as we get the images back, we'll bring you that. So it's coming down to a sprint finish here. Kulhavi and Grotz, and it's obviously the last man of the two across the line that takes the win of the partnership. So you feel that Fumic and Avancini so clever, so wily in this sort of scenario. Here's that river crossing you were talking about.
Yeah, here they go over the river crossing now. So from here, I have it as about between 6 and 8 kilometers from here to the finish. After this river crossing, the riders will go through Bon Courage, Wine Estate, and then heading into Arabella. So a little bit of tar here and a bit of rest for the legs.
Not far from the finish here, the vineyards of the Breeda Valley. And there's the road, and they can sense it's close. Fumic on the front there, and Kulhavi just keeping him honest on his left-hand side there, and Grotz staying right on Fumic's wheel. So at the moment, Kulhavi and Grotz in a nice position.
Yeah, I think coming into the finish now, positioning will be key. They come off. It's not this road, but they come off another road just before the finish. It's right, then left, then a quick right, and a left again. So it's quite twisty into the finish, and positioning would be key for these riders coming into this start-finish shoot.
The images of our leading quartet on stage 1 of the Absa Cape Epic as they close in on the finish. The fifth rider there is our e-bike on the route, Stefan Sam, just keeping watching brief, and the motorbike of course bringing you pictures as well as he shoots ahead. There's Bon Courage, as Christo was alluding to. They turn left and a little bit of tar again, some respite, chance to drink.
Yeah, I think taking on the final drink here and getting ready for the sprint finish. Very exciting to have a sprint finish on day one. I think it's always great when you have more than one team really firing and in there, showing their strength to the rest of the riders and setting it up for a fantastic 2018.
Give it a slight difference in the cadence there between the much smaller Howard Grotz and the powerhouse Czech Express on the front there. And Manny Fumic never looks anything other than just, I'm out here for a little cruise on a Sunday afternoon. Now here's the yellow jersey group, keen not to lose too much time. Are Robach and Gesmai trying to drill this group as hard as they can to narrow that gap. They went into the stage with an 18-second lead, 57 seconds down, crucially on Investec Songo Specialized, but 18 seconds only ahead of the pair of Fumic and Canal Factory Racing's Enrique Avancini.
Yeah, you can see Gizma there desperately looking back to try and get some help from the other riders. And interestingly here is that not all the riders in this group are actually contributing to the pacemaking. There, Victor Suru and Koretsky and Suru, they chose not to work and let Gizma get in front of them.
Well, this is back with our leading group. Home is close. I can hear the helicopter at the finish line. Anticipation is building ahead of this sprint finish.
Yeah, from here the riders will take a right and they hit a piece of dirt road next to the railway that will take them to the finish. Here they go over the railway tracks now.
Over the railway line. They are within almost earshot of the finish. It's Howard Grotz, the American champion for Investec Songo Specialized, goes to the front. The German champion on his wheel, the former Brazilian champion and teammate of Fumic, Avancini, on his wheel, and then it is Jaroslav Kulhavi, and the man not pedaling because he doesn't need to pedal all the time is Stefan Sam.
Yeah, Stefan Sam on an e-bike, and it's amazing how we could introduce something like an e-bike into this race to just give us these amazing pictures to give our viewers a sense of what it is like to be a professional mountain biker.
Absolutely, you can follow the lines, and no better hands to have it in than this man Stefan Sam, who is a true legend of the Absa Cape Epic, a three-time winner with Carl Platt. Back with the yellow jersey group.
You can see Gizmai definitely the strongest man in this group, and he's dragging all these riders back to try and limit the time gap to Avancini and Kulavi group.
You just look at the body language of Robach, and he's really rocking and rolling a bit there. Are Trek Salas and Marco back in this group? That group, Casagrande and Ravensteiner, who were on their own swinging between these two, I think they're back in this group as well. So seconds important here. As I said, 2 minutes between the top 10 at the start of the day. So there's very little time between them. So we could see a huge shake-up in the GC here. Certainly at the sharp end in the yellow jersey, because this is where it's all at in the yellow jersey battle. Kulhavi and Grotz, and sandwiched between them, the Canadale Factory Racing pair, Fumic and Avancini.
These guys working very well together here. Each rider is taking their turn on the front, and they're trying to gain as much of an advantage on the rest of the field as possible.
Young Howard Grotz last year rode with Palva Montoya and rode to the fifth stage when Montoya pulled out through illness. And then he rode into the sixth stage. Montoya started the sixth stage and abandoned straight away, which allowed Grotz to ride. Now there's a little bit of a move at the front there by Kulhavi, and Fumic getting himself out of the back of Grotz's wheel, at least Avancini, just to make sure he doesn't get dropped too far behind there. This is all about tactics here.
Yeah, you can definitely see Kulhavi getting a little bit Frischke kind of feeling like the pace is not hard enough, moving to the front, and Avancini immediately marking him. Out of the saddle goes Kulawi. You don't see that often, and completely back in, powering along.
One of the most decorated riders of all time. Cross-country and marathon world titles, Olympic gold and silver. He's done it all. World Cup champion as well. In fact, he's got more of those elite wins in terms of just the variety than Nino Schurter, who's yet to win a marathon title. He's also got a couple of Absa Cape Epic titles, of course, crucially with Christoph Sauser.
Yeah, at the press conference for the World Cup, Kulawi clearly stated that he's here and he's prepared for the Cape Epic and the longer format, and we can clearly see that.
Yeah, we've seen a whole sea change in the way riders approach their year based around the Absa Cape Epic. Some in the past, the cross-country riders used to come here and have a bit of fun and maybe try and win a stage, but not be too phased about how they went on GC, because it's all part of their preparation for the World Cup season. Now, evidence right there in the shape of Avancini and Kulhavi and Grotz and Fumic. These guys race the World Cup scene a whole year round, but they're here to race and try and win this.
Yeah, a lot of these riders, this will be the highlight of their year and the race they're actually preparing for, and the most important race for them to win. And I think it's between this and the World Championships.
Now, Kulhavi on the front. How is he going to play this? Grotz is keeping an eye on him from behind the Brazilian Avancini's wheel. And Fumic just making sure, was half wheeling Grotz there, that he doesn't, nothing untoward happens here. And Grotz jumps and joins Kulhavi on the front. Both Avancini looking over his shoulder, just a glance there to make sure there isn't a move behind him. We'll be watching this shadow to his right there. If Grotz makes a move.
Yeah, I think important for our viewers to note is that although it's the second rider that counts over the line, so should Avancini and Fumic position themselves ahead of Grotz or ahead of Kulhavi, they will win, even though the other specialized rider might have crossed the finish line in first position.
So there's the finish. That's how close we are to the finish of stage one of the Absa Cape Epic, closing in on Arabella's beautiful farm in the state here. And Stefan Sam is going to be the man with a box seat here. Really beautiful position to watch this unfold. And from the air as well, which is where we are now. So, ticking by along the railway line. Train came rumbling past there shortly after the riders left the start today. It's a well-used line carrying cargo and fruit and the like north and south. But it's all about these riders here. You cannot take your eye off the wheel in front of you. Manuel Fumic, he knows that. In a flash, they could disappear up the road.
Yeah, can't afford a mistake at this point, and they need to focus and make sure that they ride the right line and just keep that wheel in front of them.
Oh, beautiful images. Look at those shadows alongside the riders there. It just shows how close they are to one another. Closing in with just over 4 hours of riding, and that is the finish there just ahead of you. And Christo will tell us how far do you think that is, Julie?
I think they're around about 3 kilometers from the finish here, and we're looking at about 6 minutes, if that, of racing left. Yeah, and we're finishing, of course, on the wonderful Arabella wine estate and a fantastic race village.
Oh, it's beautifully laid out here. Wonderful estate. Now, Kulhavi pulled off the front there and looked over and said, come on, someone else have a go. And they're looking at each other here. Enrique Avancini is quite happy just to keep his tempo going, nothing too hard. Kulhavi keeping some power. He's looking at Howard Grotz.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if these riders are communicating with each other. There might be some sort of truth call that they will work together until the last kilometer before they will try and play with each other to like almost like a track type of style of making sure that they get the positioning right.
Looking so comfortable. Enrique Avancini, very, very genial man from Brazil, passionate about the sport, passionate about his country, would love to see a World Cup there. He's very outspoken about spreading the word of mountain biking and getting races of this sort of nature around the world. Yes, they've got the Brazil ride in Brazil for sure, but he's keen to get a cross-country World Cup to Brazil. Now, right-hand turn here.
So here they take the right-hand turn. Following this, there will be a left.
There we go, spot on, Christo, who's ridden every kilometre of this this route, so you know it well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity to be part of the Absa Cape Epic team, and we do a full route recce, and we ride and test each part of the route to make sure that it's ready for the riders. There we can see the scale of the race village.
It's a massive organisation. The orange tents in the distance, the big group there, that's the race accommodation for these riders. So they're closing in on there, and Kulharvi on the front here, Avancini behind him, Grotz and Fumich. That's where the race is.
So you
see Fumich at this stage.
Yeah, Fumich positioning himself right on Grotz's wheel, and they going into a right-hander here, and then just after that we'll see a left coming on to the inside.
And it's out of these corners, you don't want to get it wrong. Yeah. They'll come in now into the estate now. It's going to be heads down as they head towards the finish, past what is the media centre, the winery on their left, and now they are. And the man looking as though he may be left behind there might be Howie Grotz.
I think he just got outbreak in the corner there. Here we go. It's Avancini and Fumich.
They want the stage win. They'll get the yellow jersey today as well. Kulharvi's going to drive it hard, but it's about the fourth man. There's Howard Grotz. It's going to be Avancini and Fumich who'll take stage one honours. A brilliant, brilliant ride by this quartet, but the victory on the day goes to the Cannondale Factory Racing pair. Grotz got just distance coming off the corner there and found himself off the pace. And as a result, Kulharvi's efforts for Investec Songo Specialized didn't quite pay off. But there he is, Manny Fumich.
Fantastic sprint finish there, and we could see the experience of the Cannondale Factory Racing team there, just breaking in the corner, making sure that we're going to...
well, there we go. Cannondale Factory Racing pair delighted.
Super happy.
Yellow
jersey. It was quite hectic
at
the beginning, so we didn't really go off the gun. So everything, the whole field was together. It was quite hectic, lots of people putting their front wheel in and left and right, and then at one point we squeezed a little bit with a few guys, and then I think the final decision was when we went in that decent, and then Arvid just let it go, I let it go, and then we had a little gap, and then the Specialized guys joined us, and from there on the kind of race started. But to be honest, it was quite controlled, and I mean, I feel good. And you?
I feel proper, I feel proper. It was a nice day, to be honest. We got a gap suddenly. We didn't really expect. It wasn't really an attack. It was just a really rough climb. And then on the top, on the Land Rover technical terrain, we just let it roll. And at the bottom, we had like a small gap. And we just started to organize, with Yaro mainly. And from there on, it was just me, Manny, Yaro working on. Howie was looking good, but he was saving a little bit. And we knew that we could fight for the win at this stage, and it's a proper start for us.
It's quite early still. It's day one, stage one, but I think we're working quite nicely with the Specialized guys, so we're not killing each other. We're nicely working together because we know this is just the beginning.
Wonderful to hear the thoughts of these two genial gentlemen straight off the finish line. I mean, fantastic to hear their thoughts there. Working together all the way. They know the big picture here. They know they've got a whole week of racing to come.
Yeah, as we mentioned, the build-up, there's 4 stages, over 100 kilometers, and this is only the first part of that. And these two teams, Manny there mentioned that they were working well together, and I think that was key for them to their success today.
We heard where the break happened around about that Land Rover technical terrain. These guys got away, a bit of a group there, and then they found themselves with Investec Songo Specialized. Trix Ellis and Marco tried to go get across, clearly couldn't do that, drop back into that main bunch, and now the clock is ticking for the yellow jersey to see how much time they've lost.
Quite a big gap, as we can see, to the second group of riders here, and proving that the Land Rover technical terrain was significant today, and as we predicted, it will play a role in today's stage.
Right, it's the top 2 teams are in. The stage has been won by Cannondale Factory Racing's Manuel Fumich and Henri Cavancini. They're back in yellow. They had it for 4 days last year on the first 4 days. And Investec Songo Specialized second, and they should be in second on GC. Let's hear from them, I think, at the finish line.
4, go.
Howard Gross from America, amazing racing today. Tell us exactly what went down.
We got a gap about halfway through, and Yarrow was driving it on the front. I think I got a taste of what is going to be in store for me the next 6 days. And yeah, so once we had that gap, it was just, kind of driving it, and seems like we got a pretty good gap at the end.
Cool, thank you. We'll go to Yaroslav now. Yarrow, seems you're used to being on the podium. Do you feel back at home?
Yeah, it's super good. We did great work together with Cannondale guys, and there is a really big gap. So pretty good day, but it was really tough and really fast. The climb was quite hard because there was a lot of free stones, and it was not easy. Yeah?
Okay. And what about the Land Rover technical terrain section?
I don't remember, but
yeah, I think that's kind of where we got the gap, because the Cannondale boys and us were the only two teams that really kind of stayed close to each other. The other guys had to wait at the bottom for their teammates, and so yeah, that definitely played a role today.
Awesome, thanks very much. Enjoy the rest this afternoon.
So let's go back to the course, and it looks like there are two groups here. So there's been a little bit of a split in that main group. This is our second group charging towards the line. A look over the shoulder there. As we get a little closer, we'll tell you who we've got in this group. Indeed, it is Fanja. Well, fantastic. Trexella, Samarco, Casagrande and Ravensteiner in there. And it looks like it is Fanja and his partner Simon Witzum, the Swiss pair. And this is the third group, the yellow jersey group, Koretsky and Sarud. One of the two at the back here, and then the yellow jerseys of Robach and Gesmar. That's going to be a scramble for the line amongst these lot. So it looks like Trexella, Samarco, Ravensteiner and Casagrande are going to be finished third on the stage.
Yeah, I think they were definitely one of the strongest team today. Unfortunately, they found themselves in a desperate position where they were in between the leaders and the third group on the road. And they're delighted with their win.
Yeah, and Michele Casagrande in third on the day. And what a magnificent day for Martin Fanja and Simon Witzum in fourth place today, having got away the Swiss pair. So they were 2:26 down on GC overnight, and they could find themselves inside the top 10. Delight for Trexella Samarco.
Yeah, delight with their third place position, yeah, and I think a successful day out for that team.
Absolutely, and the chase group, the yellow jerseys are in, I think, as well. There they are. Robach is in there. So they're all in a big rush into the finish here. New yellow jerseys for sure, but the time gap there, we're not certain exactly what it is here, around about 3.5, 4 minutes, maybe more.
Yeah, definitely over 3 minutes, and quite a significant time gap on stage one. And I think the yellow jerseys will definitely go to Cannondale Factory Racing, and then in second position we'll have Specialized.
So some fascinating racing unfolding now. We're back on board. Thomas Dietsch is on board with the Bulls e-bike here, and this is Ariane Luthi and Gita Michiels on that climb. We were with the men a little bit earlier. Look how he just cruises up past that pair of riders and on to try and hunt down the next group. As let's go to the finish and hear from one of the Bulls riders.
In the world, how was today? How are you feeling after today?
It was a tough day. For me it was a horrible day. I couldn't find the rhythm in the beginning. I had really no fun on the stage. It was very nervous. People were very excited about this stage, and some crashes happened, and it was very, very dangerous. Yeah, and then I really struggled in the beginning on the climbs. I couldn't find my rhythm, and then I just told to myself, hey, relax, stay cool, you've been training very good, and wait, the stage is still 110 kilometers. Yeah, and I never lost my mind, and then we managed to come back into the group, and I'm very happy about it.
And there's still 6 days left. Is that your plan, to climb back day by day?
You can't plan. Today was more kind of improvise of a race, and I'm happy that I'm done the first stage, and now recover and see what the next day brings.
Cool. And let's hear from your partner, Urs Herber. Urs, how was today for you?
Hi. Yeah, it was a tough day. the beginning the speed was really high, but still a big group, and then in the middle we lost some time. But just we go our own speed, and yeah, it pays off in the end. We could make a lot of time and places, and yeah, all in all we are happy with the race and looking forward for the next days.
Fantastic. Good luck for tomorrow. Thanks, Urs. Thanks, Carl. Stand by for the leader jerseys.
Right, we must take back what we said there earlier. We did think it was Lecatra and Heineck in there. I think it was these guys, the Bulls, that made themselves strong in that group.
Yeah, a fantastic comeback. We clearly saw they were distanced even at water point 2, at checkpoint 2, and they managed to claw their way back to actually limiting their losses to.
Yeah, I think that'll give them a lot of confidence, because as you heard Carl Platt say, they didn't have a good prologue yesterday and they were battling early on today. So it'll suggest to him that, hey, if I just be patient here and I build each stage and I can build through the week in a similar way, they could be in the mix later on. However, they probably don't have that flat speed that we saw from Canada Factory Racing and Investec Songo Specialized.
Yeah, I think maybe a rider like Platt will ride his way into the week, and you can see as you alluded to, the experience that Platt has with this type of racing, not panicking when he could kind of reflect and saying, okay, I have done the miles, I've put in the training, and I should be good, and the experience is keeping calm and not panicking and then getting himself in it.
Isn't it interesting how a man of his experience, he turned 40 the other day, he's ridden this race, this is his 15th start, and he can still get himself into that, because he had said there was perhaps a stage where he was just about to panic and worry, and then he just said, calm down, it's not a problem, there's a long way to go. So he settled down. But even a man of his experience can let things for a moment get a little bit twisted, but he had that experience and that knowledge to say, just calm down, it's all can be done. Let's go back to the mixed zone, which is where the interviews are happening.
Nicola, long day out today, tough racing. It seemed everybody was racing on full gas. How are you feeling? You seem to be a little bit pooped.
Yeah, the beginning was not that really high speed. And then before the first single trail, there was the speed was faster, and then it was really rough terrain. It was not easy to ride in the group at that technical terrain uphill. Yeah, and then I was quite good at position around 6th, but Daniel was around 12th or 13th, and then opened the gap to the front, and I think there was first 3 leader teams. So and then we was in chasing group, but it was really a hard day today. We will see what tomorrow's stage brings. I think the first team and the second team they pushed really hard, and maybe too hard for the first long stage. There is still 3 long stages to go, but
Was today an important stage to win?
Wow, I mean, it can be important, but there's still 6 days to go, and we try our best, and looking forward on tomorrow's stage.
Okay, have a great recovery, and we'll see you on the start line tomorrow.
Well, there we go. I think Sarah there saying he looked a bit pooped, and he did, didn't he? He sounded as well. He couldn't well understand.
Yeah, I think he looks a bit. It's clearly that he is a bit tired there, and he is hurting. But again, those riders knowing what it takes to actually be in the position, and he's going through the motions and actually staying up there.
Interesting comment he made there. He suggested that he thought they went the front may have gone a little bit too hard up front so early in the race. So we'll see how that comes back. Now, this is our lead group in the women's race. Good gentlemanly conduct there by one of the men's teams, just letting them go through, is Annika Langvall. And Kate Courtney of Investec Songo Specialized fly through this single track with Thomas Deitch on there, another veteran of the Absa Cape Epic for many years, has ridden this race, and now he's on the e-bikes there. But just a glimpse there of the power and the strength and the skill of Kate Courtney and Annika Langfell. And it just seems, I mean, the way they dominated yesterday, the minute and 20-odd second lead at the start of going into today is over a 20k stage. And the way they're going today, this could be a formidable combination if it were to stay together for many years, let alone just for this year.
Yeah, it looks to be really working for these two riders, and I think racing on the same team throughout the year, they know each other. You'll find a lot of the other pairings pair up for the Cape Epic, and they don't race together throughout the rest of the season.
Now this is a look further back in the field, and that I think is Carmen Buchacha and her partner Sam Sanders racing for Dormakaba, and they're the second of the two Dormakaba teams. Candice Lill and her partner Amy McDougall are the other team, and again I think what Christo alluded to earlier and what you all know, the little push there from Sam Sanders on Carmen's back to just accelerate her over the top of this climb. It does no justice to the steepness of this climb, the camera angle, does it?
No, definitely not. But you can kind of just sense that who the stronger of these two riders are at the moment, and they will be working together to try and just make sure there's no point here in actually hurting your partner, and you need to gauge the condition of your partner and make sure you get the most out of them without actually putting them in a difficult position going into stage 2.
Yeah, Sam Sanders is looking very strong. She's the rider on the front here. Carmen is having to dig so deep here. It's going to be a tough last 20 odd Ks for this pair as they try and finish off the work here. They finished nicely in the top 10 yesterday, second of the Dormakaba teams to cross the line. The other team, Candice Lill and Amy McDougall, the leading African women's team. This one is not an African women's team, and that is because although she's very much a resident in the Western Cape, Carmen is a Swiss by birth, Austrian by birth, yeah. Sam from Nelspruit, and very much a South African. So Thomas Deitch with our leading group pair now, Langfell and Courtney of Investec Songo Specialized.
So yeah, the women's field, they of course have their own start group, and you can see the women's field much more spread out than the men, and teams riding separately from each other. These two teams obviously riding together, but the word from the route is that Luthi and Michiel is in second place.
So
the effects a little bit today, but
this is Matt Beers.
Congratulations for making it. Now you're in the Absa African jersey. How was today?
Yeah, today was hard. A lot of climbing pace, a lot of crashes in the beginning on the open roads, but yeah, we just sort of rode a tempo pace and just let Matt recover a bit today.
Cool. Congratulations. Hold on to that jersey. We look forward to some more exciting racing. Any last remarks?
It's going to be a long, hard 7 days.
Congratulations for the next 6 stages.
Thank you.
Matt Beers, a delightful character, and he and Nico Bell leading the Absa Africa jersey competition after a really hard day. Just caught Nico there saying some crashes on the open roads at the start. I think nervous and quite tentative. Just heard Nino Schurter's name somewhere. Where's Nino Schurter?
Yeah, clearly absent at this point. We haven't heard any news out from the course, and yeah,
there he is.
Talking about
wow.
And sure, a big gap.
That's Nino Schurter. The back of that group is his partner Matthias Sternemann. So there have been big issues for Nino Schurter and Matthias Sternemann today. No question about that.
Yeah, not a position Nino would be familiar with. We can see Sternemann on the back there just holding on, and he looks to be hurting.
Yeah, well, it was evident yesterday, they were in 4th place on the prologue yesterday, that this young man was hurting, and something has, you've got to feel something out of the ordinary has happened today, because for them to be this far off the pace is very unusual.
But cycling in general is just a sport you can be well prepared. You can feel fantastic on the start line, but some days it's just not your day, and things are just not working. Cole Platt alluded to it earlier, where like at the beginning of the day just couldn't find his rhythm, couldn't find his legs, and Sterneman definitely having an off day today.
Well, this is quite extraordinary to see Nino Schurter in this position. He's been the ultra dominant rider. Just looking at Schurter's bike, looking at his wheels, he's just been through the water perhaps, but the other bike's not quite as. But I wonder if they've had mechanical issues. But to have Nino Schurter this far back, there's been issues here. As I said, dominant rider last year, won the Epic, won the 6 World Cups, won the World Championships, the Olympic champion, everything. And this year it's not quite going according to plan. Didn't win the first round of the World Cup, lost to Sam Gaze in a sprint finish at Stellenbosch last weekend, and here he is battling away way down the field on stage 1 at the Absa Cape Epic, and that man, Matthias Sterneman, is clearly the man suffering.
Yeah,
just hanging in.
Sterneman, you can see it's getting really hot here at the moment, and you do feel for all the amateur riders still out there, and still a long day in the saddle for them.
Absolutely, there's the finish. So closing in on the finish, Nino Schurter and Matthias Sterneman and the group of riders that are accompanying them to the finish.
Yeah, these riders not going as fast as we saw the first few groups going along this road, and they're very much just cruising, and I think Nino Schurter is gauging to see how his partner is doing.
Yeah, it's a problem time for Team Scott SRAM. We've already seen Michiel van der Heerden and André Frischknecht across the line, so they will have a lead over their much vaunted partnership of Schurter and Sterneman. Back with our leading women here. This is with Thomas Dietsch on the Bulls e-bike. Live view bringing these fantastic images. Kate Courtney is the rider at the back here from the United States. Well, the United States are coming into the mix here at the Absa Cape Epic, for long been absent. But Courtney's here. Howard Grotz is in the mix. Investec Songo Specialized have 2 really, really good young riders to build for the future in the shape of Grotz and Courtney.
Yes, and then of course in our Masters category we've got George Hincapie and Christian van der Velde, 2 American riders, and they had a fantastic victory in the Prologue yesterday.
Not going too well today by all accounts. I think they've had a mechanical today, Christian van der Velde and George Hincapie. We'll wait and see how they progress in the Masters. It was interesting to see Bart Brenchens at the start today, a man who's won the Masters 4 times. He's won the overall before. He rolled up to the entrance of the start gate, the start chute, normally where the podium contenders or the jersey wearers load from, and he said, can we go in? And they said, no, you're not a podium jersey wearer, you have to go round to the back. So a bit unusual for Bart Brenchens and Abra Azevedo, but they lost the jersey last year on the last day to Cattell Evans and George Hincapie. Right, we are just about getting to the podium. There it is, the podium presentation for the stage number 1. Let's join it. Ravenstein and Casagrande, a great day out for Trek, Celis and Marco. Okay. You are the main. So fantastic.
In second position, Investec Songo Specialized, Jaroslav Kulhavi and Howard Grotz.
Fantastic result for Kulhavi and Grotz.
Yeah, they'll be delighted with that. There's no problem at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
in their
winners
position
of
today.
stage
They're
1,
well where they want to be after
110 kilometers with 1,900
the
meters
first
of
stage.
climbing. It is Cannondale Factory Racing, Manuel Fumic and Enrique Avancini.
I love the delight they show. Even yesterday when they finished second, absolutely delighted with their position, and here they are. Flowers for the podium, the top 3, Cannondale Factory Racing, Investec Songo Specialized, Trek, Celis and Marco on the top 3 places of the podium. They really are good friends and lovely to see. Now, of course, the overall leaders' jersey is to be presented as well, and that's the yellow jersey, which will change hands today. You heard Robach and Gesmaier, they've lost it today, a really, really hard day. They suffered today. Alluded to the fact that maybe the front two guys, Investec Songo Specialized and Cannondale Factory Racing, might have gone into a boxing match a little too early in the week. That we'll only see as the week unfolds, of course.
Yeah, I think so. And I think judging from his condition and Avancini and Fumic, I think he might be slightly incorrect there.
I think Robach's playing a game of trying to convince himself that they weren't too far off the pace. Here we go. Oops. Let's go to the yellow jersey wearers.
Familiar with this position, being in exactly the same position in 2017.
Wonderful. Fumic has ridden this with Marco Fontana over the years. Fontana was here for the World Cup, but not taking part in this event, but he's found a really, really good partner in Brazilian Enrique Avancini. Yellow jerseys on the shoulders of Cannondale Factory Racing going into stage 2 of the Absa Cape Epic. They had them for 4 days last year. They won the first stage and then on to the end of the 4th stage, the light. All broad smiles. Great ambassadors for the sport.
Great spirit within that Cannondale team.
Absolutely,
they make mountain biking look like, they make it look so much fun, and I think it's so great for the sport to have a team like that. It just like shows the spirit of the discipline.
And there's no question they are like that. It's not a show either. They just like that. This is Annie Last and Mariska Strauss, the British champion on the front, and Mariska Strauss, the South African cross-country champion on her wheel. She and Last finished 2nd overall last year.
Yeah, so, last year that team had a fantastic race, and you got the sense they were just getting stronger and stronger towards the finish, and a tested combination that's really working well.
Well, the helicopter flying overhead of us here, and we're just losing the signal from out on the course there. Annie Last and Mariska Strauss, a combination from last year. And again, rather like the Fumic and Avancini combination, a quite relaxed, easygoing pair. They like to dance, they like to have a bit of fun and smile and relax, which is great, although there is tension, no question about it. Saw them on the start line this morning on their rollers, very focused, very determined to get things right today. Kate Courtney just moves up alongside Annika Langveld here. Thomas Ditch is the man following them on the e-bike.
These two riders, they do have a gap on the chasing ladies.
Yeah, we're not entirely sure. This may be the second team on the route. I'm not going to confirm that.
Second or third on the route, as far as if we go by water point 3, last time check we had.
So just to give you the news about Nino Schurter and Matthias Sturnemann, I mean, their defense of their title now is pretty much in tatters after what has been a torrid day for the Scotsram team. A men's team riding alongside the pair of Langveld and Courtney. Courtney on the front on the climb, or just alongside, but Langveld just letting her set the tempo and the pace.
Yeah, I think on a bit of a drag here, and Courtney on the front, and Langveld looking very comfortable on a wheel.
It's that almost Bianchi road. The Strada Bianchi was a couple of weeks ago in Italy, and that took place in torrid rain on the road, and they rode these type of roads, and the riders came back, looked as though they were taking a cement bath.
Yeah, a fantastic race. If you haven't seen it, go and look. Tish Benut really showing what it is to be a professional rider, and fantastic race.
Yeah, and a young man with a huge potential of Belgian, and well, I must say, a great friend of South Africa, Nathan Haas, who rode for Dimension Day, Team Dimension Day for Quebec until last year, posted a a message on Twitter yesterday saying, Cape Town, if you want rain, just host a road race, because they have had rain at Paris-Nice, at Torino Adriatico, and this weekend at Milan-San Remo, and everywhere. So we're hoping that the Absa Cape Epic might attract some rain later in the week, not only for the drama of the race, but of course, very importantly, for this drought-stricken part of the world that is desperately dry and water scarce here. So it is a serious issue. However serious this is on the front. Langveld and Courtney have just moved beyond that pair of riders and are now hammering. Langveld is a time trialist of note, though this sort of road really suits her.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about the women's race this year is Langveld used to be racing with Luthi, and now they're racing in different teams, different partners, both of them riding with new partners this year. And we can see that Courtney and Langveld is really, the combination is really gelling, and we can also see how they are shifting the workload, working well together, and in areas where it will suit Langveld's style, she would go to the front, and likewise for Courtney.
Past one of the farm trucks, just pulling over to allow the riders to come past on these wide open roads. And Langveld on the front there, just sitting down in the Sauser drop, holding onto the crown of the fork as she hammers out the watts.
So if you're wondering, the male rider on the back here is not being a gentleman by not helping. He's actually not allowed to help the women because they are racing in their own category, and the women are not allowed to accept assistance from male riders or riders outside of their category, and that's why the male rider here is not influencing the race by just sitting on the back of their wheel.
Essentially, he has absolutely no way can he play a role in this race here at the sharp end. This is the leading pair, by the way, Anneke Langveld and Kate Courtney of Team Investec Songo Specialized. Kate, most beautiful Specialized bike, and Anneke also is a custom paint job. The Investec Songo kids' names on the down tube. Look at her in that position, just absolutely churning out the watts here. Brilliant images from the helicopter.
Yeah, Langveld tucking down into an aerodynamic position. Obviously, the smaller the profile of the rider on the front, the less wind resistance. So just trying to gain every second they can at this point.
Closing in on 4 hours and 40 minutes of racing for this pair. Quick drink from Langveld. One of the Mirandel CBC teams, many of them coming out from Europe and taking part in the Absa Cape Epic every year. And not sure if this is a local team or a visiting team, but nevertheless they're getting a bit of TV time as they ride with the leading women. Beautiful images from the helicopter. Look at the fruits in the bins there being harvested. Langveld, of course, a 4-time marathon world champion. She's the current world marathon champion, of course, and the cross-country world champion in 2016. She is a supreme athlete.
Yeah, Langveld has also seen a lot of success at the Absa Cape Epic and won multiple stages as well as the overall. 2 different occasions.
Yeah, it's a perfect record, yeah. 3 titles here.
3 titles for Langveld.
Started 3-1-3 in the company of
Yeah, an amazing record.
Yeah, can't ask for more than that. Brilliant riding. Let's see if we can... they're enjoying these nice flat open roads for the time being, because they've had a very torrid. I think the one thing that has come out of the comments we've heard from the riders so far, those who finished, is how tough and how rugged this route has been. Earlier on, obviously, the Land Rover technical terrain and skull crowns and the like, really rough riding.
the conditions out in this area of the Western Cape is much more, it's unmanicured. It's not the trails are purposeful, but not as well maintained as you would see in closer to Cape Town area, and with more open roads as well, a lot of farm roads. You can see them going through the water crossing here.
Breda River, I think. Not to be confirmed. Our geography isn't that spot on just yet, but there they go, heading across the river crossing, and that means that they are close to home. Anna Galangval and her partner Kate Courtney looking to consolidate their position in the orange jersey. We think that Annie Last and Mariska Strauss may be in second, but we haven't seen the other pair. We do have news from the course that Esther Sus has had trouble with her partner Angelica Tazrita suffering a fall and injuring her shoulder, and we are led to believe that she is out of the race, which is desperately sad for the defending champion Esther Sus.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Sus. She obviously lost the partner that she was going to ride with, Jenny Steenhag, going into the race, and Steenhag being on fantastic form going into the race, and she had a hamstring injury, if I'm correct, and she not able to take part, a last minute replacement, but no, that also hasn't worked out, so a lot of bad luck for that team this year. Of course, the defending champions from 2017.
A little bit of tar road as they drag towards Arabella here. And then we have news that Investec Songo Specialized are well clear of their closest rivals. Yeah, just trying to confirm who's in second place. It could be, as I said, Silverback KMC. We'll have to wait to confirm that.
Yeah, Investec Songo Specialized taking the momentum they had yesterday in the prologue, where we saw a very dominant performance from them into stage one.
Time trial mode for the both of them.
A bit of a drag for these riders now, and I think they're just trying to get to the finish, and they will be happy with their performance today.
Kate Courtney had an unbelievable year last year, winning the Under-23 World Cup title, winning 3 World Cups, finishing second in another 2. She was impeccable, but just couldn't win the World Championship. Sina Fry of Switzerland took that title in Cairns, but Courtney's no doubt one of the very brightest stars on the mountain bike scene at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Courtney moving up to the elite category for this season, her first year in the elite category. We saw her struggling a little bit at the Epic World Cup in Stellenbosch last weekend, but getting used to the style of racing in the elite category, very different to done in the 23 category, and also maybe can be due to her preparation for the Cape Epic, where she is actually focusing on this race, and this is more like a build up to the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's interesting how some of the younger riders, they burst onto the scene, win a couple of junior titles and world titles at junior level, and it's a very big step. Junior to under 23 is perhaps not quite as big as under 23 to elite, and it's a huge step. We're finding a lot of the riders, Simon Andreasen, still in under 23, but he's finding it tough to get up there. But one man isn't. That's Sam Gaze. These 2 riders, teammate on the Specialized mountain bike team. We saw him win in Stellenbosch in emphatic fashion. Well, not quite emphatic fashion. That sprint finish with Nino Schurter as the under 23 world champion.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience to watch that race, and I'm sure everyone that actually attended and came out to watch thoroughly enjoyed it, and to see the tension with Schurter and Gaze coming into the finish, an amazing event.
So here they come, Investec Songo Specialized with the finish just up ahead here at Arabella. Courtney goes to the front. They've clearly worked out their tactics here, and they're working almost in perfect harmony. It hasn't taken long for this scratch team to get things working together. They haven't raced a stage race together before, but obviously teammates for Specialized around the world, where they'll race against one another most of the time. But wow, look how close Annika is to the rear wheel, although a little bit off the back wheel. But beautiful images from the air of Courtney and Langval of Investing Songo Specialized.
Yeah, I think Courtney will take a lot out of this week, learning from the experience of that is Langval, who's vast experience in this race, in these conditions, and I think having her there, especially when things start going wrong, having the experience of Langval there, we've dealt with it before, and a very good position to be in for Courtney.
Popping out from behind the tree there, and Courtney just half a glance over her shoulder to make sure her teammate is in tow, and she is, no question about that. And we've got Thomas Dietsch is down there just behind Annika Langval's wheel. There we go. So here we go, just out of the saddle a bit here. There's a couple of riders are going to be passed by the strong finishing Courtney and Langval. That's our leading Exaro pair going out the frame there. And well, let's look at a way to go. Have Langval and Courtney to make their way to the finish. Ariane Lute and Gita Michels were the other pair in second place overall, and then Robin de Groot and Sabine Spitz of Team Ascendus Health very much in the mix after yesterday's stage. Strauss and Last are there, and Lil and McDougall also in the frame there, but a way to go still for all these teams make their way towards the finish.
Yeah, making their way towards the finish. The Arabella Wine Estate, yeah, in the Robertson area, and yeah, it's fantastic to be able to see these pictures from the air.
Much slighter figures. Kate Courtney, much smaller framed rider than Annika Langval, who's very much a power rider. She's got incredible strength on the flats like this. She can climb, she can descend, but she's in a way not dissimilar to the way Jaroslav Kulhavi gets on the front. It just drives the pace. We've seen her do that for many years here.
Yeah, for sure. I think Langval definitely the strongest of the two riders when it comes to a flat section like that you see now, and maybe when it gets more technical she would let Courtney ride on the front.
Just flicking back to a look at our Exaro riders there, Lucky Klangeni and Chepo Tlo, the leaders after the first day of the Exaro Academy, and Dumiso Donso and Luvuyu Siasi from the R&B Change Your Life team were in second place in that race, and more riders involved there. Some 12 teams going for the Exaro category this year. And just an update on our Masters after yesterday. George Hincapie and Christian van der Velde took the win in the Masters in the time trial ahead of Massimo De Bertolis and Andrzej Focic, and then Nick Lamont and Paris Besson, the two South Africans, in third place. That may change today. We've heard news from the route that George Hincapie and Christian van der Velde have had issues on the route. Eric Dekker's there with Michael Goffarts, Brad Clark and Rowan Adams from New Zealand in fifth place there. And to our Grandmasters yesterday, and Rob Sim of South African Uda Bolts took the win yesterday. Barty Bucher and Hans-Jürg Gerber in second place. Jeremy Thompson, the former rugby player, and Martin Dreyer, the former Doozy King, the paddler and adventure racer, in third place. Waleed Baker and Shan Wilson in fourth, and Christian Bayers and Barry Devitt in fifth place. Now
see riders finishing.
Those are riders rolling in to the finish here. They're all finishing really well as well. These are guys who've Well, closing in just 10 minutes short of 5 hours of riding. It's a long, hard stage. Just back of the field.
So back of the field, probably looking at around 8 to 9 hours out there today. Luckily, it's not extremely hot today, so but still quite a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's key here. Weather does play a vital role in the Absa Cape Epic, because we saw last year in extreme conditions. We saw the race called short on that second stage with that extreme heat that plagued the race. So they've got to be mindful of that and the ability to deal with the fallout from riders who do suffer from heat exhaustion and the like, dehydration. Thomas Ditch, clear blue skies with a bit of cloud around, and it is clear ahead for Investec Songo Specialized. Kate Courtney on the back here, and Annika Langveld on the front, driving it towards the finish.
Riding on board here, Thomas Ditch. Pictures being brought to you by Live View, and amazing technology that we've got out on the route in order to have these live onboard pictures.
And how the sport has evolved through not only the live pictures from the course, but now to have the e-bike to be able to stay with these riders and just cruise in and out of them. It's a less invasive than a motorbike and easier to maneuver around the course. And in the hands of riders like Thomas Ditch and Stefan Sam, it's very much something that has enhanced the coverage of mountain biking for sure.
Yeah, definitely a very specific role that those both Stefan Sam and Thomas Ditch play, because they need to understand racing. They need to have been, both of them obviously have been professional mountain bikers in the past, and knowing the tactics and knowing where to position themselves to get us the best pictures, and obviously that's what we want, but they can't influence the race. And ultimate professionals, you can see they're always hanging back, making sure they're not creating a draft for the riders and not blocking any other riders.
Well, he's got his camera on his chest here, Thomas Ditch, as he sits behind the wheel of the women's race leaders as they close in on the finish here at Arabella. Another group of men being swept up.
You might have caught 1 kilometer to go sign, just a glimpse of it on this on the right end of the picture there. So pretty much like 800 meters to go for these women.
Well, the top women just doing an amazing job, and the level of racing and the sharp end of the women's race has vaulted up. I think go back to the first win by Annika Langveld and Ariane Lucci. They took it to a new level, and that's been sustained and enhanced this year by the nice mix of different combinations coming back to the race, and a lot of new riders taking on the challenge. Courtney among them, Gita Michels, the unfortunate Angelika Tazrita from Austria, the Austrian marathon champion, having a problem today with a shoulder injury, and looks like her race is over.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Mirandel CBC today. They would have high expectations going into the race, and here we see Langveld and Courtney coming into the finish, and this would make it 2 for 2.
Into the past the winery here at Arabella. Brilliant riding by Investec Songo Specialized, dictating the pace today, dictating the tone of the race from yesterday almost, from the prologue, and just following through today on the first big marathon stage. For Kate Courtney, this is uncharted territory for a rider who has cut her teeth as a cross-country specialist. And yes, this has been a great performance. She'll be tested later in the week as the kilometres take a strain on her younger and less experienced legs than Langveld, and that'll be a test for the combination. How will Langveld manage that? But for now, it is a second consecutive win for Annika Langveld and Kate Courtney of Team Investec Songo Specialized as they take stage 1 honours in the women's race at the Absa Cape Epic. Well run, well ridden.
And now the clock will start to the second team, and how big is the margin between them?
Well, look at the camp here from the air. It's always a bit difficult to keep in touch with our cameras in the air there, but fantastic to see the images from the air there, bringing you all the action right up close here. So first place, Investec Songo Specialized. As I said, we're not yet sure who's in second place, but I fancy they're a long way back behind Kate Courtney and Ike Langfeld. Recovery key to performance on the next day. Candice Venter there just guiding her charge. This one here with looks after the professional side of the specialized mountain bike program. And we should, Sarah Harper is going to have a chat with Annika and Kate. Let's hear from them.
Kate Courtney from Investec Songo Specialized in the leader jersey again today. Congratulations. How was it?
It was a hard day out there. You for sure could feel it was a long day. We attacked on some of the first climbs. We got a gap. And then we had a slow leak and had to stop and plug it, and they caught us and passed us, Ariane and Gita. Yeah, and then we fought back. And then on another climb we attacked again, and yeah, could keep us to the finish line.
Kate, your first event. How was it for you today?
Yeah, it was a great day. Definitely a huge challenge, especially, they say anything can happen, and we definitely had that experience today. Luckily, we're able to fix it quickly, but learned a lot from the master about staying calm and just working together as a team and maximizing our strengths. So a great first day.
Congratulations again. It is certainly the Untamed African mountain bike race. Have a good race today. Good luck for tomorrow.
Problems, and there they are. Gita Michiels and Ariane Luthi have just come in, so the gap is not that big.
Not that big at all. I think we are kind of expected it to be slightly bigger, and a good ride by Michiels and Luthi.
Very good indeed. So the race is very definitely on here. Ariane Luthi and her former partner, three-time winner Annika Langfeld, perhaps settling down to a week-long intrigue of a race between two former teammates, and again the very similar scenarios for both Luthi and Michiels. A new combination. Michiels a cross-country specialist like Courtney, so the onus will be on Luthi here and Langfeld in the other team, just to make sure that their partners are secure and safe as they go through deeper into the race.
Yeah, I think definitely experience of Luthi and Langfeld will be key to the success of both these teams. And also there's an interesting dynamic with Luthi knowing the way Langfeld rides, and the two girls knowing each other very well, and knowing which signs to look for when they're suffering, and take advantage of that.
Team Spurs, Gita Michiels and Ariane Luthi. She's in great form this year, Ariane. She had a road race not long ago, won 4 stages on the road there, one out across, and now second
Ariane
on
came
stage
from
1.
Team Spur. What a fantastic day for you. You took over the leader jersey. What happened?
Well, no, we came second on the stage. Sorry. At one stage we almost had a little glimpse of getting into the leader's jersey when Kate and Annika had a mechanical. Not quite sure what happened there. But yeah, we got a little bit excited there. Yeah, shame in the beginning. Gita also was actually on my wheel, then just a little stick went into her spokes or something. So there they could get a gap. But yeah, I'm really proud of her. She kept fighting. She chased back to me. I just wasn't quite sure if I should keep on riding. She's really strong. So yeah, well, I think we played it really well, and we're very happy where we are at the moment.
Congratulations. It'd be great to chat to you, Geetha. Can you chat to us? Sorry. Fantastic day today. There's still 6 days to come. Are you going to hold it?
I don't know. I hope so. I had lots of problems in the beginning. It was like really in a single trail fighting, and there were guys between. And I was just stuck behind. And then lots of things happened. It was like my bike had a flat tire from the beginning, and it was like always breaking like stuff. So it was like I had to push harder than normal, and it wasn't my legs, it was just my bike. And then some guy, I had to take another route, and there was something between my barrier, and so I couldn't shift, and I didn't know what to do, and I thought I have to stop because otherwise maybe I hurt it more. But Ariane was really far with the leaders, and she's just. I was thinking, what now? She didn't know I was back, so I tried to fix everything, but it wasn't easy because my bike was doing all weird stuff. So I'm getting to know the untamed ground of Cape Epic. So and also the heat for me, it's really hot and it's really long. I'm not used to it. I think it's my longest ride on a mountain bike. So for me, it was just hard in the beginning because I had to, I had to do a big effort to get her back, and she kept riding, so I couldn't breathe, and I followed, but in the end I felt it, and I had to slow down, and I needed to slow down because
but the heat out there is really a killer in Robertson. That the leader jersey is still in your grasp.
Yeah.
So good luck tomorrow. Happy racing. We'll see you on the start line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gitte Michiels chatting there, and Mariska Strauss is in, which is good news for the Team Silverback KMC. Mariska and Annie last, I think third on the day today. So the question remains, where are Sabine Spitz and Robin de Groot? Don't think they've come in, so we could see a change on the top three of the GC in the women's race. Interesting comments there from Gitte Michiels. Longest she's ever ridden on a mountain bike today. She had a troubled day, she said. Her bike was giving her issues. She had to catch up. She had to work to catch up to Ariane. And it's also riding with a partner, something she hasn't done before.
Yeah, I think lack of experience is clear. I think she alluded to not knowing the conditions and getting used to that. So I think she actually did really well considering all of those factors and still limiting her loss to their loss to the first team.
All right, Christo, don't pause there. We're going to go to the finish again and hear from, I think, Mariska Strauss and Annie last.
Team Silverback, KMC, congratulations. It's always fantastic to watch your racing. How did today go?
Thank you very much. I mean, it's tough. No, it's definitely tough, but hey, I'm really happy we got on the podium, so good job. Good job.
Good job, everyone. Yeah, we kind of just paced it and tried to finish strong. I think that worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Last 20k is a little bit longer than you think it is always, but no, it was a good day. I mean, you've got a bit of everything. It's the first part of it. There was lots of single track, lots of sand, lots of rocks. So it was very easy to make a tiny mistake. 5 seconds, tiny mistake, 5 seconds. So we just settled in, rode our race, and I'm really happy on the podium.
Congratulations, and see you tomorrow morning.
Well, that's Annie last and Mariska Strauss. Third on the day here, very relaxed. No real issues today, it seemed like. So they are nicely positioned, and looks like they'll be third on GC because Robin de Groot and Sabine Spitz's team of Centers Health seem to be a little bit off the pace today. Not sure what might have happened out there.
Yeah, we're not sure at this point. They might have suffered a mechanical, which can obviously disrupt your race. And interesting comments from Last and Strauss, kind of just business as usual.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, just relaxed, comfortable. They're into their second epic. So the contrast there from Gitte Michiels, who was just telling us everything that happened there, and it was quite a dramatic day for Last, and Strauss quite calm, and just another good day.
Yeah, they seem very composed and not terribly unhappy with the result. I think for them it's a par, and setting it up for the next 3 long stages to come. And I think those ladies they've been here before, and they know to kind of save some energy going into the longer days.
Yeah, no use panicking now, as we heard earlier from Carl Platt. He had a tough day, tough start, tough first third, and then the experience kicked in, calmed down, no panic, long way to go on the stage and even longer to go on the race. So he managed his problems and then finished strongly.
Yes, we saw the combination of Urtova and Carl Platt having a superb ride towards the end of the stage, although they were suffering in the beginning.
Right, so the story is that we've got a new yellow jersey on stage 1 of the 2018 Absa Cape Epic. It is Manuel Fumik and Enrique Avancini from Cannondale Factory Racing, winning the stage just ahead of Investec Songo Specialized, Yaroslav Kulhavi and Howard Grotz. And really great ride by that quartet of riders who got away and put time into the rest of them today. Nicola Robach and his partner Daniel Gesmeyer found themselves in a bit of a difficulty early on, and there was no question that they've suffered today, the yellow jerseys. They've lost the yellow jerseys, and perhaps not a bad thing for them. They're pressure off them now. They can settle into the marathon stages now and focus on their job.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a surprise to them yesterday. Obviously, they were trying to go for the win, but I think even they surprised themselves with their performance. And having the jersey on your shoulders, it does come with a lot of pressure. And I think, as you mentioned, I think definitely going into tomorrow's day, not having their pressure on their shoulders, they might just be a little bit more relaxed. Maybe tonight they will sleep slightly easier than nerves would have been at play last night. So look out for them tomorrow.
The word from following our at Cape Epic Twitter feed is that Matthias Sternemann suffered a stomach bug, and that's the result. That's why he and Nino Schurter lost so much time today for Scott SRAM, the defending champion team. So it is a good chance. I mean, that's a long way to go, isn't it? I mean, can we talk on day one about Schurter and Sternemann being out of the race? I don't think we can.
No, I agree. I don't think we can mention that. I don't think it's clear to say that they can't win this anymore, but I think they have definitely put themselves in a very difficult position, and this also gives the other teams in the race a lot of confidence going into the remainder.
Very, very interesting how it's all unfolding here. Problems with Matthias Sternemann. He didn't look that strong yesterday. Perhaps that had kicked in yesterday and found it really, really tough out there. But credit to him, he hung in there with Nino Schurter. And if they're up and fighting tomorrow, you never know what will happen. They will go. Nino Schurter, when you put a number board on his bike, he only knows one thing, and that is to try and win everything he possibly can. And they've got a second team with them. Their second stringer there as well.
Yeah, so Scott Young Guns, Van der Haven and Frischneck, they had quite a good ride today, and they finished within the third big group on the road.
So we're just awaiting the presentation ceremony for the women's overall race. Obviously the rest of the field are making their way at a lot slower pace than those that we've already seen crossing the line here at Robertson. They're making their way here to Arabella to finish stage one. Stage one traditionally is it is a shock to the system for a lot of the riders, and those who are underprepared will get found out. And
yeah, this stage was called Nowhere to Hide, and I think it was pretty clear that if you come into this day, if you have any issues like with Matthias Sternemann, or you're slightly underprepared, there's no way to just get yourself through this day, because it's long, the roads are very exposed, long drags that if you are weak you would fall off the back, not being able to stay with the front riders, and as soon as that happens you lose quite a lot of time.
Yeah, so and of course that gets more and more serious further back you go in this field, because the clock just ticks and ticks and ticks, and the hyenas are waiting at the back there, the sweeps, to pick off those riders who really can't make it to the finish. And that's an interesting battle. They have to cajole those they think can get there, who might have had a mechanical and are strong enough to get to the finish, and those that clearly are not in the condition to finish the race, they've got to maybe persuade them that maybe they're not going to make it. And it's not the sort of thing you want to hear as a rider, because you think you've done enough, but it's a different kettle of fish when you get on the bike here and take on this event.
No, for sure. I think they do a great job. Both the hyena riders that are experienced in their role, and they manage the riders at the back of the field and guide them, motivating them. Obviously, they can't support them physically, but they are there to just guide the guys through the process and doing a great job at that.
Right, Christo, tomorrow's stage, not dissimilar to today in terms of distance and climbing, another really, really hard stage.
Yeah, tomorrow is a very interesting day, and one of the stages I'm definitely looking forward to watching. Tomorrow's stage is it's broken up into a lot of small challenges, a lot of steep climbs, and it just comes at you all the time. Especially towards the end of the stage, you've got you've got the 1-2-3 combo going into the last big kick up to before you get into the finish. And at that point, remembering back to the way up, obviously we ride at a much slower pace when we test the course, but even at that you were feeling like, I can't believe there's another climb, and that's the type of riding that riders can expect tomorrow, and I think it will kind of slowly just wear down the field, and guys the field will thin out all the way from the start.
Yeah, if you do have the time, go to the website and have a look at the profile for tomorrow. The last 20-30 Ks is full of nasty teeth and spikes there, so that is going to take a serious toll. 2,000 meters of climbing tomorrow, over 110 kilometers, similar distance, probably about a bit more climbing tomorrow, but that the climbing comes right at the end of the day tomorrow. So as we saw today, the last 15-20 Ks was fairly forgiving.
Yeah, the last 10-15 Ks of today's stage, we could see it was more open, flat roads, where tomorrow's stage, throughout the day, you've got it's basically ups and downs from the start, and it will be the strongest rider will definitely come to the fore tomorrow. The other thing to allude to is that tomorrow's stage is a lot more single track than today's stage had, and some of the roads are more narrow and more rocky than I would say that some of the sections were that the riders were encountered with today.
Right, so we'll bring you the presentation for the women's categories, or the women's race, just as soon as they're up and ready to go. We do know that Langfell and Courtney have consolidated their hold on the leaders' jerseys, and Ariane Luthi and Gita Michels. It's panning out at the moment as though it might be a clash between those two teams, Team Spur and Team Investec Songo Specialized. Behind them, well, things are changing a little bit. Annie Last and her partner Mariska Strauss of Silverback KMC seem to have had the better of Team Ascender's help today, so that will be a battle we'll see unfolding. Sabine Spitz and Robin de Groot, they had wretched luck last year. Sabine had a terrible crash earlier in the race and then the broken handlebar issue later on, but they did win stages last year. You cannot discount them. They've got the experience in their legs and in their minds. They know how to go about riding this thing, but they haven't yet won this race, and that's something that they both desperately want to do.
Yeah, definitely going into the race on paper, they do look like a very formidable combination, but they just seem to suffer from quite a lot of bad luck up until this point, and hopefully for them their fortunes will change this year.
Right, just to fill you in on the standings so far on the GC, so it looks this way at this stage that Manuel Fumik and Enrique Avancini are leading by 40 seconds from Jaroslav Kulhavi and Howard Grotz, with Nicola Robach and Daniel Gesmeyer 5.5 minutes back, with Lecatra and Heineck 6 minutes and 46 seconds back, Koretsky and Saru 7 minutes, and then it goes to the Buff Scott pair, also inside 8 minutes. Casagrande and Rabenstein had a great day today. They were third today, 7:48, and a wonderful day for Martin Fanja and Simon Witsum, who finished in fourth place today, 7 minutes and 50 back. In fact, going right down to Carl Platt and Urs Huber in 10th place, they're 8 minutes down on GC. And if I scroll down the results and I try and look for the name of Nino Schurter and Matthias Stinnemann, 21 minutes down.
That's a big gap.
So they've lost 20 minutes today, 21 minutes to be honest, and they are in 24th place. What a week it's going to be for that pair now. How do they go about this thing? One thing they want to do is Schurt will perhaps go back to what he used to do in the previous visits to this race and hunt stages. And obviously recovery is key for Stinnemann though.
Yeah, I think they will assess the situation tonight, and they will probably see how Stinnemann's doing, and would he be able to recover, fully recover for tomorrow. A scenario might be that they would go into tomorrow's stage with a relaxed approach and make sure Stinnemann recovers, and then attack on one of the stages later on in the race, maybe more towards the stages in Wellington that is very suited to their style of riding.
Right, in the women's race, Hanneke Langveld and Kate Courtney now have 2 minutes and 4 seconds over Ariane Luthi and Gita Michiels. And in third place now on GC, it is Mariska Strauss and Annie Last from Silverback KMC, 7:59 down. Sabine Spitz and Robin de Groot 13.5 minutes down, And then Candice Hill and Amy McDougall 17.5, and Carmen Buchacha and Sam Sanders, their Dormakaba 2 team, another minute back. So nice little battle going on between the two Dormakaba teams. I know that Amy McDougall was ill yesterday and terrible this morning. She was not feeling well at all on the start line. Didn't know how it was going to go. Well, it's lovely to see that she did finish it today. But again, it comes down to recovery, and that's what happens as soon as you get over the line. Get into the Woolworths tent, start feeding, getting the recovery going again, and prepare for a rest in the afternoon, more eating in the evening, and then tomorrow's stage.
Yeah, all these riders are professional athletes, and as soon as they finish, their focus shifts from stage 1 to stage 2, and they do everything they can to prepare themselves to be as fresh as possible tomorrow morning.
So we've got a whole week of mountain biking coming to you from the Absa Cape Epic, live streaming every day as the stages progress. So we hope you enjoyed today's coverage. It's fantastic coverage from the air, from the bike, from the e-bike, Thomas Deitch and Stefan Simon, from the motorbikes. Just brilliant coverage. I think you'll agree. Yes, occasionally it breaks up and we have to come back to studio, and like now we're just waiting for the presentation of the flowers to the leading ladies, and that'll be our story today. But tomorrow we'll be back with you again. And remember that whilst we might say goodbye now from the racing part of the event, there are still hundreds and hundreds of riders, thousands maybe, up there, or just over 1,000, battling their way towards Robertson in what is becoming increasingly a hotter day here. Again, not as brutally hot as we had last year in the Overberg towards Hermanus and that part of the world, Caledon area, but it's still very, very hot, and it's an attritional race. So it's going to be a real tough ride for those riders at the back of the field. So to our presentation of the stage for stage 1 and our women's elite riders.
Day 2 of the 2018 Absa Cape. Joining us to make the presentations from Absa is Karen Erasmus, joined us from the Relationship Executive. Third position today, ladies and gentlemen, Team Silverback KMC, Mariska Strauss and Annie Last. In second position, Team Spur, Ariana Luti and Hitler Michiels. Ladies and gentlemen, winning stage 1, Team Investec Songo Specialized, Annika Paul and Kate Courtney. These are your 3 best teams at the end of stage 1, and the winners Investec, Songo Specialized, Annika Paul and Kate Courtney.
So our top 3 in the stage today, stage 1, and amazing there. 6 riders, 5 national champions. Belgium's Gita Michiels, of course, the 2 riders for Silverback KMC, South African champion Mariska Strauss and Annie Last, and of course the Danish champion and marathon world champion Annika Langfall, and the American champion Kate Courtney there. The one on the outside was Ariane Luti, who's a marathon specialist. So those champions are national cross-country champions, which tells you where this race is now. Cross-country riders very much riding themselves into the top of the podium every stage. Here we go, the presentation of the race leaders' jerseys.
Winners of the Prologue on the slopes of Table Mountain and winners of stage 1 is your team Investec Songo Specialized, Annika Paul and Kate Courtney.
So there they are, our leaders. Annika Langfeld on the right and Kate Courtney on the left, respectively champions of Denmark and the United States. It's going to take a big effort to get those jerseys off them. 2 minutes and 4 seconds is the lead. Luthi and Michiels with Strauss and last. 8 minutes back on GC. Well, it's been another great day's racing here, Christo. The Absa Cape Epic, I know it started yesterday, but you feel the marathon stage really now we're up and running.
Yeah, definitely. Stage one is always that, you kind of wait for it, what's going to happen, who's looking strong, and the Prologue gives you some indication, but stage one always brings out the truth. And I think a fantastic day of racing, and the race is set up for a great week.
Headlines today is that we've got a new yellow jersey. Cannondale Factory Racing's Manuel Fumic and Enrique Avancini have taken over the yellow jersey. Investec Songo Specialized behind them. The previous yellow jersey holders, Robach and Gesma in third place. And another big headline is the defending champions, Nino Schurter and Matthijs Steunemann, lost 21 minutes today, and they have it all to do for the rest of the week. In the women's race, it's as you were. It is Team Investec Songo Specialized who have a 2-minute lead over their closest rivals, Ariane Luthi and Gita Michiels. It's been a great day's racing here, still riding out there here in the beautiful surrounds of Robertson. They will be for another 4 or 5 hours, the back end of the field. We'll be back tomorrow for stage number 2, 110 Ks, 2,000 meters of climbing. More drama, excitement, and blood, sweat, and tears is what makes this event tick. Christo Tour, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks very much, Gerald. It's been a pleasure, and how exciting was that day?
Yeah, very exciting, and we'll see you all tomorrow, same place, same time, pretty much, for stage number 2 of Absa Cape Epic 2018.